It's the intergalactic soul, the honorable brother, the revolutionary yourself, Darius Lockhart, and I'm here to tell you to watch Powerbombshells every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Game Media YouTube channel. That's right, every Sunday at 1 p.m., and that's on time, every time, because when we stand together, what time is it? That's right, it's nation time.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 129 of Powerbombshells. I am Sam and that is Mel. We are just two broads talking about the wrestling that we watch, and we are a couple minutes late because I was watching wrestling that we watch that I like, and then also at the same time Mel's laptop needed to do some, or was trying to do some updates, so we ended up both being late for various reasons.
We are the classic podcast. We do the podcast gimmick that every podcast does, which is technical difficulties at the beginning.
Of course.
That is a standard. Always. It's classic. It's OG. It's evergreen, as
true,
as the people say in the places. So, you know, and I think it's hilarious that Darius always says we're on time. I'm like, yeah, we are.
We're on time when we mean. We're on wizard time. We show up precisely when we mean to.
And the funnier part of all of that is that I thought I was going to be you, and I ended up finishing about 45 minutes ago and was like, yay, I can take a shower.
Yeah, we started a little later than we meant to, and then because like we were trying to make the dog go ahead and go to the bathroom, I was making something to eat, and like we were okay, and then like Nikki turned on the TV and the New Japan app did an update apparently and kicked us out. So I had to log back in, and then we couldn't find English commentary for some reason, and like so Nikki thought, oh, I just picked the wrong one, so she backed out, and it was still Japanese commentary, and we're just like, whatever, we'll just watch it. And we like had to fast forward, and then like Chono's coming out, so we're like, listen, respect to this man, but like we're gonna fast forward. And then Suji and Zach took, like, we fast forward all through Chono talking, and then we fast forwarded through like the little like how we got here thing, and had to fast forward through their entrance. I think we got it like towards the end of Suji's entrance, and we just let it play because we were like, come on, I gotta go. So we didn't watch.
I was doing the same thing throughout because it's of course you have to watch, it's the final. So you have to watch the whole show. Everyone who knows the G1 knows that you absolutely have to watch all the thing. And we had even gotten an update from our pal Jeremy over Speaking of Strong Style, where he's like, yeah, you're going to want to watch the undercard. I'm like, of course. I
haven't watched any. I'm going to watch the undercard tonight.
Okay.
I was like, I was not going to, I mean, if we talk about it, that's fine. And if anything gets spoiled, not a big deal. But I was like, I just at least want to watch the main, and Zach started to talk a little bit, and it was like 12:58. And I was like, we got to cut. I mean, we weren't going to watch the full thing anyway. So I was like, I assumed that Naito was coming because Naito's the champion, but we're like, we'll get to that part. And so Zach had like just started to address the crowd, and I was like, no, I gotta go. It's like, I have to hurry up. And I was like, I had to refill my water. I had to go to the bathroom. I was like, hurry up. So I had to hurry. I was like, we gotta rush. However, I will say, so I opened Powerbombshells Twitter, and I saw Jeremy's tweet and retweeted it from him, and I got the see it an hour tweet ready, and I switched to my account. And when I was switching to my account, was gonna just swipe out, and when I switched to my account, New Japan's tweet came up, and I could partially see Zach's arm, and I knew. So I knew.
I stopped myself. I saw it because I saw that I was tagged. I just said, and I was like, I'm trying to stay away from them. Like, don't scroll. And so I
wasn't even trying to, just switch back to my account.
That's why I got off of it. I put it.
That's what I was trying to do, was just switch out of Powerbombshells, and I was gonna retweet Jeremy because Jeremy was kind enough to promote our show. So I was gonna retweet it from both accounts. And then I saw it, and I was like, New Japan, you bitch. It's like, I'm gonna be watching this match in like 45 minutes.
Here's me giving credit. I got onto and because Observer kind of pops up first, and they actually, for a change, they were like, G1 crowns a new champion. I'm like, thank you for not just blasting the results just right on your main page. Like,
they were like, no, New Japan's got you covered.
No, but no, the company themselves, it's like, guys, you literally know that people in other time zones behind you are watching.
Right. But I know.
I guess they don't assume we're following their Twitter.
Yeah. We are both okay. Oh, Matthew says that he finished in 5th place in the Sport of Pro Wrestling G1 Pick'em. Nice. I have no. I don't think I finished. I think the only thing I predicted correctly was, and I think most of us did, was the finals. And then I picked. I think for A block, I got that. Was A block the match that I got right? And then obviously the final, and then the winner. I got all of that right, but I think pretty much all of us, a bunch of us picked that. So it's like, but I don't know where I finished in the bracket. I think my bracket got busted like within like the first day or two, because there was like some upsets that nobody expected, which is nice. It's nice to keep us on right away. And so I think like right after that. And so I was like, I quit even checking my bracket after that, really, because I was like, unless it was like, did I predict this person to win? And then thought they did push Jake Lee. I thought they were gonna like push him further just because they were just doing something. I was like, watch, he's gonna end up in the semifinal, and he didn't make it to the semifinal. But then like I think everything else I got right after that. But
nice. Yeah, I missed the deadline because life, but I was very glad that I thought Chris did such a great job putting his thing together. And
yeah, I stressed out way too much over a bracket that doesn't matter.
I changed my bracket. I'm like this with a lot of things, because I learned a long time ago from submitting like writing samples and stuff, is like you have to forget about it. So I always do, once I do that stuff, I just lock it in. And I'm the same with my fantasy picks. As soon as there gets to a certain point, I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this, because you'll obsess over it forever. And it's fantasy, like
yeah. So like I had stuff ready, and then like, but I can't remember, like some of the points were crazy though. Like I was like, there's no way somebody, I don't remember if it was Zach. It was like, Zach is not going to get 18 points. He's not going to win every match. Let me go back and figure out which matches he's going to lose. And I realized somebody else, and I was like, how did this person, I don't even remember who it was. I was like, how did they get this many points? So then like I had to go back, and so then that's when I started adjusting, because I was like, there's no way this person's going to finish with this many points. So like, so I had to go back and adjust. And then I fixed it, and then I went back, and like I left it for a few days, and then I had to go back, and then I ended up, I think I played with it before I submitted the final one. I think I played with it for like an hour, just like moving things around. And then because I kept trying to, and then I'm like, I would fix things, and then somebody else would end up with and I was like, there's no way this person's going to have 12 points. Like they're going to have 8 maybe. So then I have to go back and change stuff again.
Totally
and finally
understand.
And I was like, all right, I was like, all that matters is that Suji and Zach Sabre Jr. are probably going to be the final match, and Zach is going to win. So I was like, so I'm just going to put that in. And I think they said, like, I think Chris Sansa posted a thing like after everybody submitted and said like, this, like, I can't remember what it was, like a really high percentage of people had picked Zach to win the whole thing, like right before the tournament started.
I think it was like in people's hearts. I mean, for me, I would have been a whole heart pick for him. I would have just picked him because I mean, did. When you look at the actual layout of the thing, it does make sense. And the story like needed to, as they were telling the story, I'm like, wait a minute. And I mean, even in my head as I was, and I did not have the match spoiled for me, luckily, but in my head as the match was going on, I was thinking to myself, wait a minute, Suji's so young. Like, it's like, I get it, and he's the big guy and everything, but people have to remember, like, this is his first G1?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's brand new to the product. He's one of the young, like, the trio that they're trying to, like, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that's why I didn't thought,
I just didn't know they were going to do it. So wait,
I figured that if it wasn't Zach, it was going to be Suji, because of they're trying to focus on the younger guys. They're trying to kind of trying to rebuild everything.
No, the choices made sense.
So that's why I thought. So then that's why even at the end, like I was like, well, are they really going to go with Zach? Like, there's all the reasons to go with Zach, and of course, I love him, and like I want that. But then if they're trying to like really rebuild and like focus on these younger guys, I was like, do they do that and put Suji over Zach? And I was like, because if a younger guy is going to do it, it's got to be Suji. Like, if you're looking at, like, it's not going to be Shooter. It's not going to be Narita. I was like, it's not going to be these guys. And I was like, and then obviously, and I was like, Yugi ended up getting injured and having to forfeit the rest of the tournament. And I was like, if there is a young guy, I was like, it's going to, and so it feels like it was just basically like Suji is the guy waiting in the wings. Like, we're going to get Zach. We're going to get this little bit, but within the next year or two, Suji is going to be the guy, I feel like, is what they're doing here.
Yeah.
And I think they're priming him for that, which I think was really smart. Yeah.
Because that's the idea. That was what Tana had pitched to everyone in the first place. Was build, you got to build. They need to rebuild. They are rebuilding. So, and I mean, this is, they said it on commentary. I thought was really good, is that Zach stayed. Zach chose New Japan in 2017. He stayed during the pandemic, and he stayed during some of the hardest times, and he's elevated.
That's what Nikki and I kept saying. And I was like, and it's not
his Japanese got so good. I was like, holy crap, he is on Kenny's level right now. Like,
he is. I think he has, and he's so beloved. Those fans love him. I know, they love him so much. And and I was like, I don't want to say to reward him with a win, because he has earned every single thing he has gotten. But I also feel like Tana is like, and that for all of those reasons, you chose us in 2017. You could have gone anywhere. You went and competed because he competed in, was it not CWC? What was it? Didn't he compete in an American tournament? I think he did. And then he ended up going to Japan. And then, he chose them. Zach could have gone anywhere. Mm-hmm. He moved from New York to Japan, and he stayed there. Like you said, he stayed there during the pandemic. He helped get them through some really challenging times. And it was almost like, we're going to reward you for that, but also you earned every single thing that you got. And so you earned this win today. And when I assume he is going to be the one to beat Naito at some point. And I think that's not necessarily, I mean, yes, in a way they are rewarding him, but also Zach has earned every single thing that he has gotten in that company.
Now, did you hear all the stuff did you hear Zach's, like,
no, he started to talk. No, he started to talk and he cut out, but I can see from the comment in the chat, I apparently see what is happening.
There you go. I was going to say, so should I tell you? Because I did get through his... I didn't catch any of that. So, I mean, it's fine. And I guess we probably should have put a spoiler thing up before. Yeah, I was actually
we weren't planning to go right into talking about Zach,
we're all backwards, you guys.
Yeah, so I guess for people who watch this on a delay, we'll put up a disclaimer
on Twitter. And you know what? Let's
well, I mean, we've already spoiled the tournament too.
Well, we totally spoiled the tournament, but I'll put spoilers in the thingy. Hang on, I'm going to use our graphic though, because we know Brad loves the graphic, but everybody loves the graphic, really, and I love the graphic.
I do too.
So, we totally spoiled the G134 climax, results, but we're going to spoil all kinds of things surrounding the G134. So, that's your spoiler alert. There you go. Right. That was super professional and totally
it was so professional, because we are super professional by spoiling it before putting it up and before stopping. Generally, we try to, but the conversation
we were too excited.
So the conversation was flowing, and we forgot to stop ourselves and say spoiler alert. So, if you have not stopped yet, or if you are come back in a few minutes, and if you're watching this on the replay, come back in a few minutes or fast forward ahead. So we're about to spoil what happened. So again, I cut it off right when Zach started talking, because it was 1:00 and I needed to come in, or almost 1:00, and I had to hurry up and get in here. But Matthew has told us, and I guess Mel, you can go ahead and tell us, and then I'll put up Matthew's comment if you want to go ahead.
Well, I mean, what Zach had put out was that he challenged Naito. He said he doesn't want to wait for the Tokyo Dome, that he challenged him for the King of Pro Wrestling, which is in between. And I don't know if you definitely saw that they have Royal Quest, though. that
No.
Royal Quest is.
I knew something was coming up, but no, I haven't seen
Okay.
anything. Like I literally, Zach said 2 things and I cut it off
Okay.
because I looked at my phone and I was like, oh shit, I have to go.
Oh no, but that was earlier in the show. That they
No, I
announced
haven't. Well,
Royal
I didn't watch
Quest.
anything on the show except the main event. I haven't watched anything from the final.
Oh man, I'm blowing everything
No,
up
that's what I was
today.
saying. I said that's the only thing I watched was
Got it.
I turned it on. We fast forwarded through all the entrances in the main event, or like we fast forwarded to Suji's entrance, and I watched from there until Zach started talking. That's all I've
So
seen.
I
from
should have
the
put
day.
up the spoiler graphic before you and I went live for you.
It's okay.
So, yes. All right. Well, on the undercard, they did announce that Royal Quest 4 is coming to the Copper Box. So they're going back.
Yeah, that makes
And
sense.
and it's New Japan. It is a New Japan show. It's going to be a New Japan pay-per-view from everything I can tell from that announcement.
Nice.
I would expect some United Kingdom and TMDK interactions on that card because there was a lot of undercard setup for that part, but that's kind of minor compared to what ends up happening with the timeline here is because so in the post in Zach's thing, he challenged, he said, I'm not waiting for Tokyo Dome. I want to do it at King of Pro Wrestling, which means in the timeline, because that takes place on the 18th and the other one on the like 20th or something like that of October.
Yeah, Matthew says October 14th is what Matthew says.
Okay. And so if potentially he were to beat, weirdly, Naito at King of Pro Wrestling, he would go to the UK show with the IWGP Heavyweight Championship.
Which makes sense.
And me even telling you that makes me tired for Jeremy and Steven because that's like, I just gave you the overview and I haven't even like had time to analyze it. I was literally like figuring that out as I was figuring, because I got done a little bit sooner.
Right.
I started a little earlier today and I did get through some of that stuff and was just like, I'm figuring it out in my brain as I'm coming to sit down here going, oh my God, they're going to have a heck of a show on Thursday. So, and I'm going to
definitely make sure if you want more New Japan coverage, make sure that you watch Speaking of Strong Style on Thursday at 5:30 Eastern, because Jeremy and Steven will have you covered. And they'll have a few days to digest everything that happened today.
Yeah, they're the ones that are going to unwrap all of this. We are not going to try and unwrap all of this.
No, and I haven't seen that part. I'm going to go back tonight.
And Sam hasn't even like caught up.
And we're going to try to watch and we're going to see if we can rewatch the main event with English commentary. Not that, I mean, the Japanese commentary is great. I love listening to them.
It's in the, if you go once you're on the screen, there's a little captions thing on the bottom where all the settings are. And literally... It's like YouTube has. It's so obvious.
I probably would
not obvious at all.
I've
had the same problem multiple times. And I'm always like, no. Remember, it's just like the YouTube. Go down there and click it. And it goes.
Yeah, and I guess I probably could have, but I find that distracting and it takes away from what I'm watching because I'm too busy trying to read.
No, I know, not in the middle of your match. I'm saying when you if you're still having that problem, it's on. No,
I know, but even if closed caption is on and I'm trying to watch the match, like then that's if I'm trying to read it and watch the match at the same time.
Oh no, it's not closed caption.
Okay.
It's a function that looks like the closed caption button. And when you click it, it has a pop-up that says Japanese commentary, English commentary.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, we watch from where we've always been watching. Like if you go to series and it brings up the show by day, and it's already in English commentary. So that's where we went. And then even on the main page, it didn't give the option for English commentary. It went straight into the Japanese commentary. And so we were just like, but I didn't have time to play around with it because we were like, we got to watch. And again, I don't mind listening to Japanese commentary because they get really excited.
Yeah, they're fun.
Things like that. And Nikki has been learning Japanese with Duolingo. So she would like hear certain words and she'd be like, I think she knows this. Yes. So like all match long, she would be like, this means this, or I think this means this. Or I know that word, but I don't remember what it means. So
well, and I think it's like we need to remember too, like we're living in a time where we're so spoiled that we get English commentary at all. My friends who started watching this long ago, and I have a few, would be like, I watched all of my New Japan. When Prince Devitt was on there, I watched him in Japanese commentary.
Yes. See, and I had wondered this. Colin said that he thought Steven and Jeremy were going to do a live review either tonight or tomorrow. And that's what I wondered. But I am on Jeremy's Twitter right now, and he doesn't have anything about that. I mean, he could be, maybe they just didn't tweet it. Or if I don't know that he might be, I don't know that either of them are in the chat right now. But
they might be watching.
If they do a live show, we will retweet that on Powerbombshells.
10 a.m. and Jeremy was watching, so it's possible.
Well, he tweeted 22 minutes ago. He was talking to, he said something to Walker. So
we'll keep you posted. And if you subscribe to the thing I got there on the screen, if you subscribe to our YouTube, it's just at Fight Game Media. And you hit the notifications, it'll let you know if they're right. And I know their breakdown will be really great. And there's a lot to unpack from the end of that show.
There really is. And Colin said maybe he misheard them. And I just assumed, because I was like, sometimes they do them after big shows. And I actually wondered that this earlier today. I was like, oh, I wonder if Steven and Jeremy are going to do a live show today or if they're waiting till Thursday. But it appears that it'll be Thursday. But like Mel said, subscribe and turn on your notifications. And you can follow us on, if you follow Fight Game Media on Twitter and Powerbombshells on Twitter, we'll retweet and let you know if they're going to go live today. Or if they happen to join us at some point today, we'll find out. Maybe by the end of the show, we may have an answer.
I know that Jeremy was saying he was, because when I talked to him, he was starting at 7 a.m. his time.
I saw that
we were talking about not getting spoiled.
Right. So, well, he's finished the main event because he said to Walker that main event was an all-timer, so he has finished the show.
And Walker didn't. Excellent.
I'm sure he did. That's why I want to go back and listen, and I want to hear Charlton because Charlton is British, and I want to hear his reaction.
Yes, you do. Because there is an epic line in there for you and Nikki that I am just
I can't wait to hear.
You have to, and I think you'll know the line. Like I think you would.
Yeah, I'll have to. That was the one thing is I was like I want to hear.
Charlton has chilled out so much from the original Chris Charlton that he would say something like that, and I
can't wait to hear it. Yeah, because I was like, I want to hear Charlton because I was like, Zach is British. Because even he said last night, like, because we watched the final two matches last night. And Chris said something and he was like, well, I guess they were making their picks. And he was like, well, obviously, like, I'm picking Zach because I'm British too. So I want to hear him call it. So we'll probably, and since we have to watch what happens afterwards anyway, we'll probably just rewatch the match with English commentary. But we're planning to do that.
Oh, you really should. It's an absolute big. I know that I would say that Takeshita was the in-ring MVP of the tournament.
Oh,
Walker
my God,
Stewart was like the outside of the ring for his
Walker's
first
incredible.
G1 tournament. Like, and again,
it's like,
oh my God, he brought me back, but it's his.
Seriously. Mm-hmm.
He brought me back to the old G1 thing that I felt with the crowds, and he was lucky. He had this great year, and he had this wonderful, when full crowds this year, real G1 felt like. But oh my gosh, he worked as hard and earned as much as anybody in the ring or any like young boy that was doing their, he killed it. I felt like, and I'm so glad
it did not feel like his first.
No,
it didn't feel like his first G1. He felt like it sounded like he's been doing that G1 for 10 years.
He is by far right now. I would say right now in wrestling, Walker Stewart is the best broadcaster in wrestling.
I would probably agree with that. He's
right
incredible.
Now. There's nobody doing the kind of work, doing the kind of storytelling. The idea with a sport is that sometimes when you have to look away from the football game or the baseball game, and the guy on the broadcast desk is explaining to you what is happening, even though you're watching it.
Right.
And holy crap, Walker, because some of those matches I was not into necessarily.
Right.
I was paying attention sometimes. Like
right.
And that brings you back to that 2019, like, oh my gosh, like peak G1 sort of, but also it's his. And that's the best part, is that he nailed it in his own way. And since he's so young, he only has.
Yeah, and we've talked about this. I was like, he's this good at 21. I don't know what he's going to be in 10 years.
I mean, just shout out to him for
he's
enhancing
incredible.
something that's already a good time. And I mean, I do like the Japanese commentary. Sometimes it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But for him to work that hard and to know, it felt great. It felt like, wow, he's one of us.
Well, and then he also has he's bringing in these English-speaking wrestlers on commentary that's not what they do, and he has to guide them along. And then you have somebody like Gabe Kidd who talks and talks and talks and like doesn't know when to, because that's not what he does.
Yeah,
so he doesn't know how to let things breathe. He just, and like, so Walker's kind of having to guide him around him and like, hey, like dial back a little bit. But I mean, he did really well, like kind of navigating that too. And I'm not surprised that Chris and Walker were busy telling dick jokes this tournament. My favorite was
don't say anything, Colin, because I just want them to hear the lines.
Don't say anything from the main event from this, but I did.
And there will be a specific line that I think you guys will pick up on. Who is he calling Ichiban Meat Boy? It's he said Ichiban Meat Boy today about somebody, and I'm like, Chris Charlton, you have become. I love listening to him sing. He is as pleasant. It's as wholesome when he sings to the Just Five Guys.
I heard. Did he do the Chappelle? Did he do the Chaperone yet? I know that he was the other day. He was saying that he had just heard the Hot to Go by Chaperone, and he was gonna try to figure out how to change it to Dick Togo. And people were spelling it for people were like, obviously do DICTO go, and then I guess he was going to change other lyrics to go with it, but I don't know.
I'll let you enjoy it.
Okay,
we should stop talking about stuff.
Yes, but he did. We talked about it last week about how he just yelled when Dick Togo jumped off the top rope, and he screamed. He said with his whole chest, "Dick to dick contact."
He totally did too.
He did.
Absolutely did. I was like, oh, that just whoa.
But I guess
it's those guys. I just you guys. It lived up to the hype this year, and in every possible way.
This was an excellent tournament. I still like Zach was incredible. Tsuji was incredible. Shingo, that main event last night where Shingo covered his mouth because he didn't want to say he quit. And that made me, it made me a little, because like, I love Tsuji, and I knew going into it, I had already seen who was in the finals because Twitter told me. And, and so I knew, and obviously we all kind of knew what the finals was going to be, but it made me a little sad because Shingo was like, he didn't want to quit, and he covered his mouth so that he wouldn't say it. And then he did, and I was just like, oh, Shingo. I was like, poor Shingo. And then I thought Finley looked really great in the match last night, too. I thought he did a great job. And then, but yeah, I think Takeshita, like you said, was the in-ring MVP. Takeshita killed every single match he was in. He is, like, we already knew he was a special talent, but, like.
And he's over there.
They
love him.
Yeah, and then I saw something about he made a backstage comment about coming back to New Japan, and like, would he join Chaos, or like he named a couple of factions that he was like,
because he's been identifying.
Then he said, or will it be the Don Callis family in Japan? So like he kind of, which I don't think they'll do. I think he just has to say that, but I don't know what his DDT contract is because he's been with DDT forever, and so I know that. Obviously, he's with AEW, so they have the relationship with New Japan. But because he has the DDT contract, I don't know how that would play out if he's... Because I know some people were like, well, just leave him in Japan until Wrestle Dynasty, which I would be okay with. But he has DDT commitment, so I don't know, like... And I know that New Japan and DDT don't... I mean, they sort of have the relationship now because they've got that relationship with, like, what is that, all 10 promotions or
yeah,
that
they
big
have
thing they
the
signed.
unity thing that they.
So I was like, I guess they have that, but I mean,
Leave it alone.
like you have to be careful with that. He's still signed to DDT, like he's
Mhm.
not signed to New Japan. So they have to be careful with that type of thing. So I don't know. Like ideally, they would just leave him in Japan and let him wrestle in New Japan until the
Agreed.
beginning of the year, but I don't think that's gonna happen because of the whatever his DDT deal is.
Now he has been identifying with United Kingdom though throughout the
Yeah, there was
tournament,
that.
and
Yeah.
I am all about United Kingdom North America because you've got Will, you've got Aussie Open, you can have that'll do that's a reason for Greatest Okan to come to the States for
Mhm.
something.
Mhm.
Jeff Cobb, who had an excellent tournament, he was
Yeah,
like
he
the
did
sleeper.
great.
One of those Hanare, Goto, and Jeff Cobb were probably the like 3 sleepers of the like guys that
Yeah,
had
Goto was
particularly,
great.
but Jeff Cobb, I mean, he always does. I just love watching that man wrestle.
Me too.
He never ceases to amaze me that he can move that like
Yeah,
amount of himself around in ways that are it's and he always shows up.
he does.
I love the guy. I think
Yeah,
he's a great
anytime you see a
wrestler.
match with Jeff Cobb, like there are matches that I don't necessarily care about his opponent, but I will watch
Yep.
because of Jeff.
Because I want to see what a lot of times you want to see what he does with it.
Yeah.
And I
Right.
mean, he can carry other people if he needs to, and he can do all these things, but it never looks like he's doing that. That's something that like nerds like us notice, but you
Right.
wouldn't notice that from like an average person's perspective. It's just
Right.
he does such a phenomenal job, and I don't think he takes for granted that he gets in this tournament at all.
No.
Like I never feel that with him. I think he gets it.
Yeah,
You
I think he does too.
realize like he really is one of those guys that gets it, and I just love it. And they don't use him enough in AEW, and he's in AEW, but they don't use him. So, but
Yeah.
there's another one. I mean, they've got enough AEW signed wrestlers that are United Kingdom, including the leader of it, essentially.
Right. Yeah.
But you could have a cross ocean faction thing that and.
Right.
If
Well, I
they
mean,
want
that's
to
what Bullet
continue
Club
doing
did.
crossover
Bullet Club was in New Japan, AEW, and
Right.
TNA all at one time, so they could easily do that with United Empire, and they're
Exactly.
doing it with TMDK because Robbie Eagles was just in ROH. Bad Dude Tito sometimes wrestles. He's wrestled in ROH. He does the USA strong shows here. So they've kind of got him doing that type of stuff. And then I know Shane Haste has been in Australia doing like stuff down at their dojo. And he's getting ready. Mustafa Ali is getting ready to go down to Australia for a little bit. He cut this really funny promo. He's coming to Shane. I guess I don't know if it's Shane Haste's promotion that he has or like what it was, but he is wrestling Adam Brooks, which is going to be fantastic. I haven't seen Adam Brooks in forever, but he cut this promo, and then Shane, to make it sound more Australian, Shane would like repeat it back in like his own words, but it was really great. And so like he's down there doing that. So like TMDK is kind of the same way. They all kind of have members in different places. And so yeah, United Empire could do the same thing where they have like, I mean, you technically have you still have Bang Bang Gang is technically a Bullet Club. They're a Bullet Club
Right,
Gold.
well, that's what I mean. They're still Bullet Club. Like they're Bullet Club Gold. They have to me, I guess in my canon, in my brain, in my fantasy booking world, they all are the same. Like they are just because, especially since they are having a relationship now, and we are doing the best wrestlers everywhere thing. I'm like, yeah, those guys are LIJ. Oh, those guys are TMDK. Oh, those guys are United Empire. It just seems so obvious that, and Will is breaking away, and Kyle are breaking away from Don Callis. You see them,
right?
That's fracturing. I mean, it's kind of setting itself up.
I know that we're going to talk about this obviously more next week with a pre-show, but I think I think I mentioned it here, but when we were talking about Mark Davis last week, like I kind of wonder if Mark Davis returns at All In because
that'd be
they
nice.
had, MJF has been going through all of Osprey's boys And I feel like he's going to do something, and perhaps this is how they bring Davis back. Is Davis, that's the one person he hasn't been able to do anything to, because Davis has been out of action for almost a year. So perhaps this is how they bring Davis back in, is maybe he comes to help Will or something like that. And then they can kind of break away and do the United Empire and break away completely from the Don Callis Club or family. So I don't know, maybe that's how that works out. But Colin did say that he thinks that Takeshita goes back to DDT for their big shows like Wrestle Peter Pan, where he was recently. Yeah, because he wrestled the first night of G1 and then the next night wrestled for DDT, which I guess they could do, but DDT is going to let that happen on a regular basis. And
but New Japan rescheduled for him, so I mean, there must be something going on. I mean, maybe President Tana has like bigger picture abilities.
Maybe. Well, he might have bigger picture stuff for Takeshita.
I mean, it has.
AEW is not doing shit with him.
Yeah, right.
Other than just they're just wasting him away with Don Callis, and now Don Callis has Roosh to deal with, so he can just have Roosh instead. But I want to go back real quick to Matthew's question, where he asks, "What happens to the WrestleMania main event if Zach wins?" And that is a good question. And that's probably more of a Steven and Jeremy question because I feel
this is why I said there was much to unpack.
Yeah, I feel like I don't want to know what Naito's health is. I don't know that Naito's knees and his vision will allow him to carry that title into Wrestle Kingdom. So I can't tell if that's why they've moved this. It feels like that's why they've moved this matchup, is because they need that title off of Naito, and Naito needs to go recover or rest or whatever it is that he needs to do.
And that's a good story, and he still has to defend. So what happens if he wins is he has to go to Royal Quest and win, which is cool. But then that means, because he's wrestling for it, he has to defend it at Wrestle Kingdom. So he still would get the Wrestle Kingdom main event.
Yeah, because like I do want, like, on the that's what Nikki and I were talking about the other night. It's like on the one hand, like I want Zach to have the Wrestle Kingdom moment where he becomes champion, but on the other hand, Naito is not in good shape as far as we know. He's struggling a lot, and I don't know that they can handle having him. Like, you can't. I think Zach, regardless of when they do it, Zach has to be the one to beat Naito. Like, I think that's the story. Like, you can't have Naito lose to somebody here, somehow regain the title back, and then drop it again at Wrestle Kingdom. Like, I think, like, Zach.
But I don't even think he necessarily would have to wrestle Naito at, like, let's say he wins. Right. Like, we're working on the theory that he wins at King of Pro Wrestling and becomes the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. And then he has to go to the UK with the belt, which would be awesome because they've been doing that Bring It Home story forever and ever, all the way back to Will Ospreay. And so there's plenty of story behind that.
Sure.
He wins in his home, which would be enormous. And I mean, you're selling tickets on that. Huge. Mm-hmm. Then he goes to Wrestle Kingdom as the IWGP Heavyweight Champion.
Right.
What you do in there is you have to build somebody in there that's going to make a Wrestle Kingdom main event. That's going to be the question. What are New Japan putting on?
Do you bring somebody from AEW to do that? Do you bring in Will Ospreay?
In my mind, you bring in a second. I just thought Will Ospreay. That popped into my head for the British reasons, especially because he could be the heel on that, where Will Ospreay couldn't accomplish what he's doing.
Right. And I was like, of course, the story, I don't think he's going to be cleared. But, I mean, you also would have the story of Kenny, because Kenny was the last Gaijin to win. But I don't think Kenny is not, from what Michael Nakazawa is saying, Kenny is not anywhere near being ready. I don't expect to see Kenny until
next year,
sometime next year. Like, and I only want him to come back if he can be ready, because
that's where I'm just
from what Nakazawa. I mean,
want to stay put.
I saw the quotes from Nakazawa, and it was translated from Google, so obviously there could be some stuff lost in translation. But it sounds like Kenny can barely bend over to clean the litter box, and Nakazawa is having to help him clean out the litter box because he can't bend over, and he's having to do different exercises to have strength, but not affect like his midsection because he had so much of his intestines removed. So it sounds like Kenny is like way, way far away from being able to return. If that translated correctly.
I mean, where he is hurt, especially, I mean, obviously Nikki too, and we've talked about this a million times, how we have empathy for Kenny's situation because we have people in our lives and we ourselves have situations, but because of the pelvic floor, men have them too. It's funny because pelvic floor therapists are, usually they're like, oh, that's a lady thing. It's like, actually, it's not. Because it turns out men also have pelvises. They just, because it's different for them, they don't have the same, because we're carrying our stuff on the inside and they're carrying their stuff on the outside.
Right.
And so, but those muscles, day to day, and I just, from my physical therapy, I learned about how much that can affect, and I've been through it myself, how much that can affect just basic, like bending over. Because you can't squat, you can't I just want him to be better. He had like there's, from everything we know, he basically had a section of his intestines removed.
Yeah.
Because
he said I think the way it translated was 25 centimeters, but Josiah was saying that 25 centimeters is not very, very big. And so he thinks maybe it was supposed to be 25 inches, which obviously it can be with your intestines are very big, but
yeah, and it doesn't take a lot of, and just, it's Dr. Preet in our group actually is really good at, in Discord, is so great.
Sure.
Mike Gilbert has me calling him Dr. Preet forever. He's great, from out in Vancouver, and he's so cool about lending his knowledge because it turns out like that's sort of where he is a general practitioner, but he specializes. He's kind of been focused because a lot of North Americans struggle with gastrointestinal diseases.
Yeah.
So
my mom has diverticulitis, and I have an aunt on my dad's side who has diverticulitis, and she's had to have surgery a couple of times, and she's had part of her intestines removed as well.
It's something like I think it was 87% of Americans have.
I believe it.
Something that would classify as some form of gastrointestinal disorder. But but we have the greatest food supply in the whole wide world, everybody.
Yeah.
Or so I'm told by Big Agra and Big Farm. Never mind. Anyway, I drifted into the weeds there. Sorry. But yeah, no, I don't want to see. I'm with you 100%. I would love to see Kenny Omega make some triumphant return in my dreams and all of those things, and for all the reasons, because that would mean that he was fully healed and he would be able to go back on his own terms, and that's lovely. But if that can't happen, Kenny Omega has given me so much joy over the years.
Me too.
And because we live in the times that we do, we can go watch Kenny Omega. I was actually thinking today, because of this G1 being so good, about going back and watching the 2 out of 3 falls match with him and Okada. Because it struck me that I was such a young wrestling fan at the time that especially New Japan.
Right.
In terms of understanding the business of wrestling.
Sure.
That I really would be interested to see what today me, who's weighing in on wrestling regularly, would think about that match.
Right.
Just because I have an upgraded perspective.
Right. Yeah, we do. And we've got, and there's just, those matches were so special to me that I have not rewatched them since then. And so it would be kind of interesting just to go back and see, because those matches, I think, will be matches that stand up forever. Those will be matches that they're in 30 years from now, you will go back and look at that set of series. And that's another reason, like, of course, Kenny's health comes before anything, but that's another thing. Like, Okada is here now. I want Kenny and Okada. We had that small little face-to-face with them before Kenny left to have surgery, and just to give us that tiny little tease that maybe someday, if the wrestling goddesses smile upon us again, we will get Omega Okada 5 at some point. I hope that we do. But again, Kenny's health is, most important. And Like Lady B says, AEW is struggling with star power without Kenny, but hope he comes back when he's ready.
Exactly right. You know it.
Yeah.
This thing is driving me cuckoo. I don't know
Well,
why.
if you need to take your visor off.
No, I'm not taking it off. I'm just gonna fix it so it stops falling down in my freaking eyes because it's being a jerk. I told Sam, little tangent, kids. I was cleaning yesterday because I just felt like using energy, and I found my first coaching visor from way back when, so I washed it to wear today, but it's struggling with how it wants to fit me. It's like, yeah, it's your old one, dude. Now you have a new head.
You have a new head.
You have a totally different head now, okay? So, sorry about that. A little tangent.
That's all right.
See, the problem with wearing a hat is that there's potential for wardrobe malfunctions on our show.
This is true. That is part that comes with a gimmick, though.
At least it's only like a PG wardrobe malfunction, though. So it's really, oh my gosh. Oh, the Velcro. So, anyway. So yes, Kenny, please come back when you're ready, if you're ready, but please get well. More than anything.
Same thing. Yeah. Because I keep seeing people like, I think Jamie Hayter's coming back next week. And I'm like, we don't know that. We don't know where she is in her recovery. Her back was very, very bad from what we've heard. Like at some points they feared it was career ending. So let's just on the one, like I said before, like on the one hand, I'm glad that she sees people still want her to come back and they love her and things like that. But then on the other hand, like she may not physically be able to. So don't put that pressure on her to come back if she's not ready.
Encouraging people with injuries and illnesses in the business, in talent, in regards to talent, I feel like encouraging them and sending them messages of, hey, we haven't forgotten you.
Yeah.
Is so much more productive if you're going to be on social media as someone who's been ill at times.
Right.
Because it's a lot of pressure to be sick in the first place. So, you know, and they know that it's easy to be forgotten in their business. So if you're going to say something about the person, instead of like wildly speculating about their whereabouts, maybe shoot them an email and say, hey, we haven't forgotten about you.
Right.
Like use that use that energy in a positive or efficient way. Effective.
Yeah.
Just my personal opinion. Just one girl's opinion.
And I'm pretty much on the same lines as that. Like on the one hand, like I don't want you I know, like you said, you don't want them to be forgotten and you want them to know that they are loved and that you would love to see them. But on the other hand, like if they physically cannot make that happen, like I don't want them to feel like they're letting their fans down because they physically can't do that. And I hope that Jamie Hayter is coming back. I would love to see her return at All In. I think that would be an incredible story. The women's division misses her. They've grown a lot since she's been gone, and I'd love to see her get in there with how things are now, but only if she is ready and healthy do I want to see her back.
Right.
But let's see. So I think that's all for the G1 talk for now, especially because I got some stuff to wander into.
We're wandering into AEW territory.
We are wandering into AEW. So we will go into AEW because, so next week, we'll make this announcement a few times, but so next week is our pre-show. So if you are newer to us, before AEW pay-per-views, we do what we call a pre-show where we run down the card and we talk about the matches and make predictions and we usually make like one bold prediction and we talk about like our sleeper match and that type of stuff. And so because of All In next week, obviously it's in London. And so their show will be at 1 p.m. Eastern time. We will not be running against that. We will be watching just like you. So we are going to move our show to 11 a.m. Eastern time. We're going to try to stick to getting you out of here before the show starts. We knock on wood. Should anything noteworthy happen, we may just do a surprise show or something like that.
Right.
We'll figure it out depending on what the topic is. If it's something that we can hold until the following week, we'll do it then. If it's something that has to be talked about, we'll figure it out. But we're going to try to stick to just all in. We're going to try to just get that way because we want to talk about it and get you hyped for it. But we want to make sure that you're out of here by the time the show starts because we want to watch the show too. So that is the plan. But so make sure that if you're going to be here with us next week, we will be here 2 hours early next week, and we'll send reminders throughout the week on our social media.
And
on
again,
our personal
if
social
you
media
subscribe,
and Powerbombshell. Yes.
And if you subscribe, and I'm going to do the pander, I'm going to just jump right in there. If you subscribe and you smash that bell and you get the all notifications, it'll let you know when we're going live. And so it's 11 a.m. Eastern instead of 1 p.m. Eastern because we, as Sam said, want to watch with you guys so we can talk to you after.
Yeah, and I'm sure there will be a post show for somebody. There generally is.
I believe there is conversation about it currently.
Okay, so we'll let you. So make sure you follow again, subscribe and hit the bell, but make sure that you're following Fight Game Media on Twitter as well because they will have all show updates so that if they are going live, you'll see that. And if you're following Powerbombshells on Twitter, we'll also get that information out there for you. So make sure that you are checking that out as well. But yeah, so we just
I wouldn't be surprised just because for the West Coast people, especially, that's such an early end.
It's an early end.
Practically like I don't know, it's like 7 o'clock in the evening or something. It'll be like the funniest post show ever for them because it'll just be. So I mean, I think again, we want to the whole network is actually wanting to get you hyped for it. So I think that there are stuff going on this week and on.
And then, because you'll have the Dynamite show on Wednesday,
right?
Which will be they usually go live about 20 minutes after Dynamite ends. So they'll give you their live reactions from the Cardiff show.
The go home show,
I'm sure that'll be the go home Dynamite. We'll obviously have Rampage as well. I think they'll pre-tape Rampage, but we'll have that there. I can't remember. Are they doing Collision? Or
no.
Are they doing a are they pre-taping Collision? I can't remember.
They did they're pre-taping Collision on I think the whole thing is getting taping. Is that right?
I can't remember.
You know what? I'm not gonna spread misinformation. So
I think there will be no rules, but regardless, the Dynamite show will be live on Wednesday, roughly 20 minutes after Dynamite ends. Talk about the go home show. They will update you if there is a Rampage and a Collision. And then I'm sure 0 hour matches are probably going to get made in there. I mean, we already have one. We have Stoke and Chris Statlander versus Willow and Ishii. And then the winner of that match, which they just announced this last night, the winner of that match gets to pick the stipulation for Chris versus Statlander at All Out on September the 7th. So we already know that we've got at least one women's match on
gets to
for
pick
All Out. So on All In 0 hour, it is Chris Statlander and Stokely versus Willow and Ishii. The winner of that match gets to determine the stipulation for Willow versus Stat at All Out on September the 7th.
Okay.
They announced that last night. So we do know that All Out has at least one match so far, and that is a women's match.
Good. Well, actually, you know what? That's smart because those sales aren't doing well.
Yeah. So we will have that. But yeah, so anything that comes up, definitely make sure you
can obviously
watch the Dynamite show because they're going to have a ton of information, and then of course we'll be here to go over all of that with you on Sunday. And then since people are talking about it in the chat, okay, thank you. Paul says that they are taping Collision on Wednesday.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. I knew somebody in the chat would probably know
because
I thought that was right, and then I was like, wait a minute.
When you think about it logically, and I think that's the reason that my brain was telling me that, is that when you think about it logically, because it is their first Dynamite show in another country, not Canada, but in a, it's in
European country.
In a European country. It's in Wales. So it makes sense to give them a little bit more than just, and you can tape the show kind of anytime because it's going to be, I mean, they're not going to wait. Are they going to start Dynamite at
No, No, they're doing Dynamite at regular time, and then they'll do Rampage is an hour, and then Collision is 2. So they're it sounds like, because I assume they're going to tape Rampage as well, or because Rampage isn't live, I don't think, right?
Well, Rampage isn't usually live anyway.
No, it's not usually. No, I mean, I'm saying that's what they usually do is pre-tape. So I'm assuming
they're doing Dynamite back to back, and then ROH usually comes before.
Yeah, nowadays. They're not film, and they're not. They've already pre-taped. They've already pre-taped for ROH. Last week they did that. That we have this coming Thursdays has already been pre-taped. It was taped last Sunday at the Esports Arena. So they filmed 2 episodes. The episode that aired this week, and then the episode that aired next week. And so then, I guess once they get back from the UK, then they'll restart doing ROH after Collision again. I mean, they were doing that already, but like wherever Collision is at, ROH will be there, unless they make some announcement that ROH is staying behind in Arlington, which at this point they should. We're gonna get to that. I have a lot of thoughts about it.
It makes sense, and actually, I'm thinking back to, because like in the way back, a wrestling show would be like 13 hours, and matches were like 2 out of 3 falls, and people would go to the wrestling match all day. It was like an all-day affair.
Right.
I'm not saying they should make an all-day affair about it, but at the same time, it is your first, primetime show in a foreign nation other than Canada, not North America, outside of North America, where you are trying to get TV deals around the area, and you are trying to get on the continent and so forth.
Yeah.
Well, it would make sense to give the people a bunch of stuff, like to have all those shows and enjoy them and know that they were going to, it's like, yeah, it might be taped, but you're still going to go live in front of a US audience.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, because Dynamite would have to be pre-taped because they are 5 hours ahead of us.
Right.
So they would have to. Let me see if there's any.
But it just, to me, it seems like, and I think because the people in those territories are smart enough, and it'll be exciting enough, I think that you could easily tape that and probably have better reactions in some of the places that Dynamite's been the last few weeks, because some of those crowds have been absolutely horrible. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's not like you should come back to Detroit or anything, but whatever. It's not like one of the hottest crowds ever.
Yeah, so this says here that this is about reports about the tickets selling out, or they're close to selling out in Cardiff. So Cardiff is a Dynamite and Collision taping on the 21st. It does not say anything about Rampage, so I wonder if they pre-taped Rampage ahead of time.
They might, perhaps. I'm sure
that's all this mentions is all this says is Collision. It doesn't say anything about Rampage here. I was looking to see if they had anything, and I apologize if you can hear Miley coming through. She's barking at. Yeah, I'm trying to look and see. Yeah, and AEW's website just says Dynamite / Cardiff taping. It's at 8. It starts at 18:30. For them.
What sucks is that we have
in here about
looking around for this, and we haven't been told by the people on the actual program that should be telling
us. Yeah, I can't. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing with Rampage. We'll find out. I'm assuming it's airing. I'm just sure that they've pre-taped. They may have pre-taped it this weekend already. Yes. So the big announcement this week, on what was this, Thursday? I think. No. Yeah, it was Thursday. Is that All In will not be at Wembley next year. It will be in Texas. It will be at the Globe Life Field, which is where the Texas Rangers play baseball, and they will be doing that on July the 12th. It's their first It's their first stadium show in the U.S. is what this show will be. It'll be their first pay-per-view in Texas. On top of that, first AEW pay-per-view. They've had ROH pay-per-views in Texas. So the first AEW pay-per-view, and it is going to be on Saturday, July the 12th. That is the day before Nikki's birthday. So she is excited about
Saturday, July the 12th. And is that an outdoor stadium, Sam?
It has. No, the first thing that I looked at as soon as I saw the announcement, I went and Googled it. They do have a retractable roof, and they have air conditioning. Because there's no way you can do a show like that in Texas in July and be outdoors. So that was the first thing that I looked for. It is It is. And so it's in the Arlington area, which they've obviously built this relationship with Arlington. We've had the Path to All In
Well, that's
series
because
that
Jerry World is there.
they've well, yes.
Well, that's where the sports arenas are. That's where Tony would have it in with those guys because one of his sports teams has to go through there. I mean,
yeah.
Unlike a certain team on a certain peninsula that doesn't exist in the Midwest that also has an enormous stadium that's indoor that doesn't need a retractable roof because it's a lovely field that has a dome.
Well, maybe Detroit has not offered that. Who knows? It sounds like they've built this relationship with Arlington because they've done 6 collisions in a row there, and they have done ROH tapings there. So he clearly has a relationship.
I wonder what Arlington is paying him to get.
It was announced like around the time that Collision started. It was announced. I don't know what. I mean, obviously now the pay-per-view is there. I'm sure it's different, but like it was announced sometime right before.
So this is something I've been wondering, and I don't know. And I actually, I've asked someone, and then I'm like, but I'll put the question to you: do you think that? I mean, places like Detroit, for example, don't see it as enough of a draw right now to court? Because I mean, Arlington seems to be courting Tony,
right?
Whereas I can guarantee you that Detroit's not courting AEW right now just because we've got a lot on the I mean, the Lions are the biggest thing in the world right now in Detroit. And also just the expansion and all the things that have gone on. We just had the auto show this weekend. That's the biggest auto show in North America. People come from all over the world to come downtown. It's crazy. And it's back to normal now again. So, I mean, normal.
Right.
But it's post-COVID, post-plague. Everybody can do what they want. They can bring their, 75, whatever. But I don't know. I'm wondering now is like, are they like in a place where that's what they need to get by?
It sounds to get by. I don't know if that's necessary the term that I would use, but I mean, I think that. I mean, maybe that's it feels like obviously that's the reason that they're staying in Arlington is because there's some kind of relationship there and they have been offered, and I don't know if they've talked to other cities. And when on the last media call, Tony hinted that they would be staying in the area and he made it seem like ROH could potentially move to Esports Stadium for good. Or if it was not Esports Stadium, that it's somewhere in there that they could have a stationary venue for ROH. And then I would not be surprised if that announcement comes at some point that they have a stationary place. And so, I mean, I could see, I could see that being part of it and so I don't know if I would assume they've talked to other cities, but maybe they haven't. Maybe, and like you said, Detroit has a lot going on. I mean, you could make cases for, I mean, Charlotte has an open air, they have open air arenas and neither one of them have retractable roofs, but obviously wrestling is in Charlotte. Like they have a long history here. So you could make that argument. I mean, you can make arguments for a lot of places, but then it works out because now they have the Von Erichs and they have the Von Erichs in Von Erich country. So it sounds like Texas checks off all their boxes for their needs right now is what it sounds like to me. But I guess it depends on what Texas is offering them and how much money they're offering them.
That's a year from now, though.
Yep. Next July.
He must be pretty confident that everything's going to go okay with the TV thing.
I mean, the TV announcement's coming. The TV announcement is done. We've known that for weeks. It's
done, yes, but like what? The problem with that is that what's going on with the company. Like their stock just got downgraded. They're on a credit watch list right now. Like there's a lot of Warner Brothers Discovery.
Oh yeah, Warner Brothers is they're.
But they're kind of a critical part of the negotiation, because they are the negotiation. So I don't know. I hope that just means that everything's great and we're just going to hear. I mean, That sounds to me like he's just holding off to make the announcement then on his new TV
I think the announcement's
deal.
coming. I think the announcement's coming at All In. I think that's what he's doing. I think
Okay,
he's waiting for
'cause
that. I mean, the deal has pretty
that's a
much from
pretty
what
big.
I have heard, the deal has pretty much been almost completely done. I mean, you have to. These things take time. Like they can have things agreed to in principle, and then there's paperwork for
Obviously, yeah.
both companies to sign. So like people were jumping down BJ's throat when
Oh no, I don't
because
think
it
that.
and I'm like, but people aren't understanding. Like it takes time. Like you have to. There's all these there's contracts have to be drawn up. They have to be both lawyers have to review these and make sure that they're correct and make sure that they match. Then there's multiple people who have to sign these things. Like this is a long process. Like this
And the
isn't
government's
just
involved.
that's done overnight. But I think that having Overdrive, this new show that has random wrestlers on it, that's a big sign that the deal is done.
Well, and making an announcement about a Coliseum show, an arena show that like a stadium show. That also would tell me that you must feel pretty confident to make that announcement about that situation.
Right.
You're going to have stuff to promote it, which i.e. TV.
Right. And also you have David Zaslav and Tony Khan at the Olympics together. Tony tweets, "Thank you for having me at the Olympics." Like clearly something is, their relationship is healthy enough that they're going to Paris to the Olympics together.
I'm not worried about his relationship with Zaslav. I'm worried about Zaslav's relationship with the company because it's not great.
That, but my point is, if you look at all of these things, the announcement is coming. Like you can't.
I hope. I mean, I don't doubt BJ because BJ is a reliable source.
And then also going back,
I just wonder what it's gonna. For me, it's what is it gonna look like? That's what I'm more. I don't think it isn't gonna happen. I'm more like, am I gonna be watching on True TV?
That's where, but ROH, not your main AEW programming. ROH is most likely going to True TV. And that's what I was getting ready to say was at this. So when you have this announcement at All In, they've got Mercedes, Orange Cassidy, they have Swerve. They had, they have all of these big names. They had Athena there. Athena was there with her ROH championship. Obviously, she is from Texas, but that tells me that ROH is coming to TV because you have their champion who has been their champion for over 500 days, or 600 days rather. She's about to break Samoa Joe's record to be the longest reigning champion of all time. You have her there at your press conference. That means something big is happening with ROH. I think that's just another huge sign that ROH is coming to TV and that is part of this new deal. They probably are. The rumors have been for weeks that they're going to True TV. Feels like to me that's where they're going. And then I saw that apparently Athena was interviewed by a news station and they had her listed as AEW ROH Women's Champion. So there have been rumors that they're going to call it AEW ROH because I think Warner Brothers wants that part of it so that you realize that ROH is part of it. Yeah. And they had her listed as that. So that feels to me like ROH is coming to TV. ROH is going to be part of this deal. So I feel like that's where they're going with this. Is that I feel like, so the deal, I mean, we see all these signs. That deal is pretty much done. And I feel like because of the way Tony likes to make grand announcements, I think it's coming at All In. I think he will announce it. If he doesn't announce it on the show itself, it'll be in the press conference, but I think he will announce it before. So at the scrum afterwards, people can ask him about it. But I feel like that's where the announcement is coming because you're going to announce it in one of your biggest shows of the year. Like, I mean, you could do a random Dynamite. I mean, that's also Tony did that with ROH. He announced on a random Dynamite that he purchased it. So I feel like the announcement I feel like is coming. He's like, it's getting harder and harder for him not to say it. So I think but I feel like All In is the place to do it because a lot of people are going to already be watching. And I think that the All In 2025 announcement was kind of leading into that. And they did say they will be back at Wembley, just not in All In. It will be for something else. And he said they're not completely leaving them behind. So and then I think he actually said Wembley 2026. I think maybe for something, not necessarily All In, but I think that they're coming back at some point. So who knows how that will play out. But I think part of it was because they didn't sell out All In this year. The tickets are still available. And so I feel like that
they should do Forbidden Door in London.
I could see them doing a New Japan, like a co-branded show.
Yeah,
because New Japan is big
like
in
that
England too.
would be fine because it's harder to do Japan, but it's someplace that it seems like both promotions could come together on. That's like a foreign,
and then you could include the British talent too, and
especially with Zach potentially being your
right,
champion.
If Zach is your champion, they could do Ospreay ZSJ there.
Well, yeah, I mean, even if they do, and
so if Ospreay does, if they do Wrestle Kingdom and do Ospreay ZSJ at Wrestle Kingdom, they could easily do Ospreay ZSJ 2 at, whenever they do that Wembley show, even if it's not, but I guess it depends on if it's next year or the year after. But I feel like he said Wembley 20. I cannot remember what the tweet said now, but they are coming back. I do know that for sure at some point. But the details were scarce because obviously they're focusing on the Arlington show. So next year we know. And the one really good thing about this doing All In July is that All Out can go back to its regular weekend, and they don't. And there's not 2 pay-per-views like 8 days apart. This time they separate because there wasn't a July pay-per-view before. So it feels like they are now making that. They've got.
I do appreciate that portion. It'll be
nice my friend pointed that out. He's like, "Oh, thank God, those pay-per-views aren't going to be back to back anymore." And Lady B points out that WrestleMania will probably be in London in 2026. Yeah, because London, that's been the rumor. London's already been courting them. WrestleMania, they have to. They pay you to come to their city.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I mean WWE. So for WWE, and then that was kind of, I was saying that like cities courting him is because WWE, like they demand site fees. They say, if you want us to come to your place, you have to pay us. That's in their thing. That's not how Tony does business. So obviously that's going to change the playing field for how he books his things.
Right. So if WrestleMania London is in 2026, I can see them going back to Wembley in 2026.
Maybe if they want to play the wrestling more game. I mean, I guess if they're signing a new deal and it's a blockbuster deal and things are going great, what's the harm in having a big wrestling war in London? I mean, why not?
I mean, they're still doing it. Like WWE announced they're having a house show the same day as World's End.
Yeah.
Those arenas are 20
in Orlando.
Those arenas are 23 minutes apart, and it's a holiday weekend. It's 3 days after Christmas. WWE doesn't need to do a house show then. They did it out of spite because that's what they do. So I could definitely see Tony being
absolutely.
Like, we're coming back to Wembley in 2026 or somewhere else in the UK.
He's still out there. Like, I mean, obviously it's because he's being asked the question and he's answering that, yes, he does believe that WWE is contract tampering. Right. So it's like, please watch it with that, because if you push too hard, you get looked at too. So
yeah, I mean,
but
they're one of these companies is already under federal investigations, and one of them is not.
And I have already, and that's 100%. I'm not defending WWE.
No, I know you're not.
I'm mostly playing devil's advocate on that front, just because, like, as far as the people in charge are thinking is like they are in a wrestling war, whether people like it or not, and so you got to do what you got to do with those things.
Right.
I don't know. Tony is he's got to have stuff done to be making an announcement this large.
Yeah.
I agree. Stadium.
Well, he keeps hinting at it. He keeps talking about how they have big announcement coming. Awesome. And then, of course, one of those big announcements, obviously, is All In Texas. I mean, that was a huge announcement for them because it's their first stadium show in the U.S. It's their first AEW pay-per-view. So, like, that was a huge announcement. And they had Athena as part of it, which tells me some more is going on. And also, Athena posted a video today, which was really interesting. And it's a picture of Mercedes, and she said something like, "Isn't she beautiful?" And it's, Mercedes has each title, and you see Mercedes, and then Athena keeps zooming, and she zooms in on the TBS championship. So they are hinting at that at some point. I could see that being the All-In 2025 match is Mercedes versus Athena. I can, because Athena's getting ready. She's been your forever champion. She's getting ready to break Samoa Joe's record. They're coming to TV. They could give her several months on TV as champion, have her. Well, and even then, I guess actually I take that back because I do still think that Billy is beating her in December. I think Billy's beating her at Final Battle. So then you can put Athena on AEW TV and then start.
That doesn't make her any less of a draw, and you can just move her up because she'll fit right. If the women's division were to stay exactly like it is today and continue to evolve in the positive way, she would fit right into that.
Yes, definitely. And Laurent says that Mercedes mentioned Athena in her subscribers' Instagram. Oh, that's fascinating. Cool. They're already planting the seeds, it sounds like. Well, and good. Mercedes also wants to be the main event of All In next year. Athena is from Texas. Like that.
Well, there you go.
That sounds like that sounds like they're planting seeds to me.
Yeah.
USVA guy says that Ospreay versus ZSJ at Wrestle Dynasty. Yeah, I could see that being the case. That is
in my mind, the idea here is that ultimately, I mean, notwithstanding where this upcoming weekend takes us, they are going to have to probably put the championship on Will Ospreay at some point, which would be champion versus champion. And that would be a great draw for a show anywhere.
That's true.
Because you're playing, then you're doing the IWGP champion versus the AEW champion. So they're I mean, they could do it not for belt, or they could put both belts. I mean, there's all kinds of things you could play around with, but those are future things. We talk about, it being a Tokyo Dome worthy show. I mean, not maybe this Tokyo Dome, but the next Tokyo Dome, because Will's the champion.
Well, Wrestle Dream has got Wrestle Dynasty's got to be a big show anyway, because it's happening the day after Wrestle Kingdom and before New Year Dash. And it's 5 promotions. It's New Japan, it's AEW, ROH, Stardom, CMLL. Like, that's a huge show. Exactly. So you've got to have, that's going to be a crowded show, but like, that's a match that I could see that definitely, like them keeping that. Maybe Zach retains if Zach wins, if he beats Naito in October and retains, and then he could retain at Wrestle Kingdom and then face Ospreay the next night. Or if somehow Naito keeps the title through Wrestle Kingdom and they get a rematch and Zach wins it at Wrestle Kingdom, then he can defend it the next night against Ospreay, if that's what they're doing. So there's that as well, which would be really interesting.
And I mean, it's kind of a natural thingy, because he can totally give out to Will for not being able to do what he did, which was winning the G1 and winning the IWG, and doing all those things and bringing it back to the UK. I mean, there's tons of story there. There's a truckload of story for the two of them to have, and a truckload of amazing wrestling matches for us to watch.
Agreed.
So, I mean, again, in those situations, we're the real one.
And he, at some point, he's going to have to face Tsuji again. Because Tsuji had an incredible, and they're building him the way, I mean, he doesn't have to win, but the way they're building Tsuji, like, you have to you have to do a rematch of Zach and Tsuji at some point next year.
Well, he made it to the finals in his essentially rookie year. That's a big deal. It's still, I mean, they still put Tsuji over huge in this situation, because he's the kid that made it to the finals out of all the kids that were
and they also had Tsuji won, he would have been the first wrestler to win the New Japan Cup and G1 in the same year, which has never been done before. So they put him in a position, even though he didn't win, he still made it to the finals of the same year that he won the New Japan Cup. And so, I think.
I mean, they clearly are going to be pushing him and they should be, obviously.
Yes, right.
And I'm honestly glad that they went this route, because I think it'll be, in the long term, I think it's going to be better for Tsuji.
I think so too.
I think that you've already started, people are now excited for him. And I know that they wanted to bang right out the gate. And I'm like, I get that. And at the time it felt like, because New Japan was flagging so hard, sure. But now, you've done this tournament, it's been successful in my mind. I mean, I don't know what the Japanese reaction will be, what the larger fan base will be. This is just our anecdotal podcast opinion. It just feels like there's a lot of momentum there. And it's exactly what Tana was saying, is I need to build up the young guys. And who better I mean,
yeah, and I hate that
he's got his own young boy.
Right, he does. He has Fujita.
So,
And so
I
he
mean,
does have that. And then you've also got like, unfortunately, I mean, I don't think we know how long Yuya is going to be out, but like you have Yuya who was having a great tournament
yeah.
and he got injured, and the shooter was injured coming into the tournament, probably should have not been in the tournament and taken some time off. So you've got to get him healed up. And so you've got those two as well that you have to work with. And obviously there's Ren Narita. He's got the House of Torture bullshit, but they've kind of recreate. I mean, he's not the Shibata clone anymore. He's he's got this.
No,
So
he's becoming more, yeah. But
and then you've got
stuff. I don't know.
You've even got Bolton and Callan Newman too. Like you've got all of these younger wrestlers to work with as well. So like there could be some really exciting things for them over the next year. Like it'll be really interesting to see where New Japan is at by the time we get to G1 next year, and how things look and who's in that tournament and how much some of these younger guys have grown in that time. And so that'll be, there's some interesting things. I'm really, New Japan they still have some issues just like every other promotion, but they definitely seem to be on the upside of things. And I'm excited to see where things are going and how they're going to play out. And I'm going to miss Ishii being in the conglomeration when he goes back. I will miss him because obviously, as Kyle O'Reilly says, he is the hot one of the conglomeration. Big Tom is only there for his looks, apparently.
Like, makes total sense to me.
Obviously, that's why it was funny because I had seen somebody had randomly tweeted that picture of Ishii when he went to meet Hello Kitty and he had the Hello Kitty ears on, and he's like, and I happened to just save that picture like a few days before, and then I heard Kyle say that, and I was like, oh, this is the perfect time to use this picture of Ishii with his Hello Kitty ears. Just great. But we will take it back to AEW. And Laurent says, if Athena Mercedes isn't the main event, no, not the co-main event, what is Tony doing? Mercedes has main event at WrestleMania. He can't justify not giving her the main event. I could see that built being where they may have them main event, is letting them do that there, especially with Athena being the hometown talent.
Well, then any concern you might have about a women's main event kind of goes away because.
Well, and there's also, I mean, I don't think that's where this is going, but some people have said to us that maybe Chris and Willow main event All Out, because that's been a long going feud as well. I don't know if that's where they do
That'd
this,
be cool.
But I mean, perhaps
I think Chicago would be for that. I think that's a good crowd to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you could even, if they have the feud go to World's End, they're both from Long Island. I mean,
there you go.
I know Max is too, and so Max always wants to main event his home city, but in his hometown. But that's where they could go that route as well too. If they don't do it here, perhaps they have Willow and Chris main event on Long Island, which would be, and then you can have Max open it. So perhaps we'll see. But they should, regardless if there's a first women's main event this year or not, I agree that Athena versus Mercedes, if that's the route they're going, that is what should main event All In.
I definitely think that next year we need one, or else what are we doing, as you like to say?
Yes.
There needs, I mean, if we get to the end of the year and it doesn't happen, Kay.
Right.
But it needs to happen in 26 or 25. Like it needs to happen next year.
Yes. If we're not doing it, if we're not doing it this year.
I don't mean 26. I'm not Congress. I'm not saying in 2030. I'm not saying that a woman will main event some pay-per-view by 2030. I'm saying next year in 2025, probably we should, I mean, unless you F up your women's division, you need to, which please don't.
They should be doing multiple women's main events by 2025.
They've done a really good job right here. Notwithstanding what I read about Saraya getting, but I
wish she would just go away.
Well, I don't understand. Never mind. I'll talk to you about that later. But anyway, notwithstanding all those things, it's just like where they're going right now is awesome. So stay on that path.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. And so Lady B says that a friend covered the AEW press conference and said Swerve and Athena were the most personable, authentic, and media friendly. She said Mercedes answered questions like a robot. I can see she probably still has that WWE training in her conferences, and it's going to probably take her a little while to break out of that.
Well, they brainwash you. I mean, they put you through basically. That's what the PC is. It's putting you in the mindset of doing that. And if you weren't someone that was naturally gifted, I mean, she wears a mask in most of her Star Wars stuff. Like, it's I mean,
true.
She's not like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think it'll take her some time. For most of the people that have a WWE background, it takes them a little bit to kind of break out of that type of.
Also, the women's division's evolving, though. So it is. She's evolving, and individually as a new wrestler in a new company, and this division is becoming a real viable piece of the storytelling that takes place every week.
To me, and they have for a while, they have the most compelling stories. The women's division does.
A lot of people say that, actually. I see that a lot.
Yeah, I do. I see that a lot too. But
I have actually heard Dave Meltzer compliment what's been going on recently, and even go so far as to say that it reminds him of the 90s, which is his penultimate women's wrestling vision. That's the way that he thinks all women's wrestling should be, is and I get it. Believe me, those women were amazing and they were next level. But, again, age.
Yeah.
But also, if he's compared, like, for him to say that is an actual compliment, because for him, that's the penultimate version of women's wrestling. So I was like, whoa. I actually, when I heard that, was like, am I listening to the right podcast?
Yeah, Nikki says Mercedes probably still has WWE brain. And then she weighed in and said that Saraya should go away and take FTR with her. Yes.
We're getting that we have to get to too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. This is an interesting, Jermaine Presley here says, I can see Mercedes versus Thunder Rosa or Sheeta at All In the next year main event. Those are good. Those are just very good, especially Thunder Rosa is also from Texas. If she's not in the women's title picture, or Sheeta is not in the women's title picture, then I could see Mercedes in the TBS championship being up for grabs for one of those women as well. Those are two feuds that a lot of people want to see, especially Sheeta versus Mercedes. That's a lot of people have been talking about that feud, and there's also, people have been, because we saw the match with Sheeta last week, and people were like, why are we not getting Mercedes and Sheeta at All In? Why are we
that match? That's probably the best match she's had so far.
I would agree.
Sheeta's Sheeta. She trains. She's behind. Honestly, the best thing Mercedes could be doing is wrestling Sheeta over and over.
Yeah, I think that, and I think Mercedes.
If that was the first match, that's just gonna make her a better wrestler, because it'll get her back to where she was when she was one of the 4 horsewomen.
Yeah. And a lot of people have said, like, they're not into this match with Britt at all, because Britt is not on this level. I've seen a lot of people have, like, after the match, before Mercedes Sheeta even happened, people were like, why is this not the Wembley match? And then after it happened, people were like, no, seriously, why is this not the Wembley match? And I get it. Like, Britt was the face of the women's division for a long time. When the division was struggling, Britt was your face. She was not, she had worked on her mic skills a lot and got a lot better with that. Her in-ring has always been average. Mm-hmm. She has improved, and she's had some good matches, but overall, there are better women in the division than her. And so I can understand, but also we have to keep in mind, Britt is coming off of some scary health stuff on top of that. Mm-hmm. And so she might be working off some of this ring rust a little bit as well. Like, she wrestled Harley Cameron in a 5.5 minute match last night. And some people felt like Harley carried that match. I saw some comments about that, and they were like, Harley is not somebody who wrestles all the time, but also, again, Britt was out for some time because of her health. But even before that, Britt was not always she was not the best wrestler. Jamie Hayter was better than she was. But that's not to say that Britt was invaluable or she was not valuable to the women's division, because I think she is. But she, again, when she came back, I said that she was going to have to really step up her in-ring work because of the quality of women who have been signed. And then you've got Anna Jay, who is killing it in Japan, and she's going to come back a completely different wrestler. And she has these experiences that Britt doesn't have. And so what is that going to look like? And so, like, storyline wise, like, I get why you do Mercedes versus Britt, because
right now,
and Britt, and even Britt said, like, somebody brought up an old tweet of hers from a couple of years ago, because, you know, she was the role model, and so was Bailey. They were both, one was ROLE, one was ROLL. But she said that in the back when she was in dental school, she sat in the back of the class and watched Mercedes Bailey matches, which they should bring into the storyline. I think that would have been really smart, that Britt can be like, hey, when I was in dental school, I was watching your matches so that when I was going to wrestling school, I could be like you. Like, why has this not, I don't know why that's not been a part of the storyline. I think it would make a lot more sense. It would humanize the story a lot more and maybe put some more behind it, because this feels like a TV match, not a pay-per-view match. And they've built it like a TV match and not a pay-per-view match. And I think that's because we all know Mercedes is going to retain. So I think that probably plays into it, is like, we know Mercedes is going to win that title. And then, as USVA got points out, that everyone needs to care about the real quality match, Mercedes match, when Momo will be facing her to bring her to new levels in DC, which is correct, because at Capital Collision, that match has now been made official. So that should be a great match. And then my friend, who is going to her first wrestling show ever. She is more of a WWE fan. So she found out she was getting Mercedes, and she was like, I can't. And she's getting Mustafa Ali is one of her favorites. So she's getting Mustafa and Mercedes on the same card. And she was like, how is this my life? Like, my first wrestling show ever, I get two of my favorites.
So awesome. That's really great.
She's so excited about this show. And I told her to make sure she goes by the merch booth. Also, you don't have to do it here. You can DM me. But if you would like, USVA guy, if you would like to tell me your shoot name, so that she does not have to go to the merch table and ask for, I mean, she can, if that's what you prefer. If you don't want the people to know your real first name, not a problem. I get it. But if you don't have to say it here in the chat, if you would like to keep that private, but feel free to DM me so that she knows who to ask for. Or if you want, tell her. If you tell me, just tell her to ask for USVA guy. I will do that. But she was like, who do I ask for? And I was like, let me get back to you on that. I was like, he may not want you to know that, but I was like, if he does, I'll tell you. This is
call me out. No, I'm just
right.
This is just. I think
maybe three people got that.
Back to your point, just about Britt, real quick, because she was the first and she was the face, and I do believe that she, I don't want to say deserves, but here's my thing, is that if there are women that are putting in more time in the gym, and I don't know what Britt's workout routine is, if she has one at all. I don't know. My contention would be that the women that are putting in the time and the women that are on TV doing the matches and showing out, and those are the women that should be being built up. And so we are getting this out of our system, but after this is done, I think it's going to matter how her in-ring, if she is willing to step up to the women that are going to be in the ring, because she's going to kind of be exposed as a fraud if she doesn't keep up with the women.
I think
if they continue to improve that way. And we've seen that she has a little bit of a problem with, she has a pretty high functioning, high maintenance personality type, I guess, is like the best way I can put it. I don't know. I hope, obviously she's been hurt, and whatever. So maybe she's like in the gym all the time, and I have no idea. I have no idea what Britt does in the way of training for. But even we had Spider on last week, and he said, remember, as long as you're a wrestler, you still need to go back to wrestling school once in a while.
Yeah.
And
right.
You always need to go back to wrestling school sometime. You need to go back to the basics, and you need to go back and do those things. And I think maybe it's time for, after this, to see, like, okay, who's in the wrestling school and who's not.
Right.
And then act accordingly, regardless. Because you can't survive. I mean, some people can. I mean, plenty of people have survived on gimmick alone, and that's fine. And if it gets over and it puts butts in seats, that's lovely.
Right.
But this is a pretty high. I mean, AEW is not WWE.
No.
But also, I guess maybe then Britt ends up in WWE and problem solved.
I don't know. Lady B makes a good point that says, as a new AEW fan, I've never seen Britt wrestle consistently. I only heard of her after the Lights Out match. I will admit to being disappointed by her in-ring based on the hype around Britt's return. And I can absolutely see that based on, and again, like I don't want to, she's had some great, like that Lights Out match was great. She had the steel cage match with Thunder Rosa as well. She's had some good matches. She has elevated her game since she first started. When Britt first came to AEW, it was clear that she was new. Her promos were awful. And they worked with her with that. She had, at the time, she had the foil with Big Swole. Big Swole kind of brought some stuff out of her that like really got her over on camera as an on-screen character, and they continued to use her while she was injured, and they built her up. So then she got better. She was better as a character than she was a wrestler, and I feel like that's still the case. And she's been able, like, she's had good matches, but she's had some not great matches, and they kind of maybe put the title on her a little too long. They probably should have had her drop it sooner. But since she has been gone, like, you've got, like, look at Deonna Purrazzo, who has come in, and she's having this incredible series of matches with Thunder Rosa. You even have like women like Lady Frost, who I think is super underrated. She's incredible. And I would love to see Lady Frost. I mean, we do see her in ROH some, but when she's been on Collision and been given those opportunities, she has shown out every single time.
She really does make the most of her opportunities. She's one of those. But that's kind of my point, I guess, is that,
I mean, you've got, and
in terms of making the most minutes, like, it's gonna matter more and more the better the women's division gets.
What if Jamie is coming back? What if Jamie comes back on Sunday? Like, Jamie, of course, she had the story with, I mean, she was with Britt and things like that for a little bit, and they've got their story and whatever, but then there's been some stuff that's come out that they had some problems backstage. And so that it sounds like Jamie will be not with Britt. And so, but Jamie, I mean, obviously Jamie is going to have to, she missed a ton of time, and it may take her a little bit to get back into the groove of things as well. But like, you just have these quality of talent, and you have to, if you want to be high up in that division, and if you want to reclaim, I don't know that she will ever reclaim being the face of the AEW women's division again, just because of the type of talent that's in there. But if you want to even attempt to, you have to bring yourself to that level. And it's going to take some time, because she's only had 4 matches since she's been back. Mm-hmm. So it's going to take some time, but also you've got this incredible, like, they don't even book her that often because she's been in Japan, but like, you have Emi Sakura in that division. You can have an incredible match with anybody. You've got Yuka Sakazaki whenever she's around. You have it sounds like you've got Riho is incredible. Sky Blue has really built herself up. You know, and
Red Velvet is hurt, but she'll be back potentially.
Red Velvet is she's the ROH Women's TV champion.
Oh, so she's like, not hurt. She's fine.
She's she's not been used recently, and I think it may be injury wise, but she beat Billie Stark. She's the ROH Women's TV champion. So I mean, she's down there. There's Queen Aminata. There's Taya Valkyrie, who seems to be.
They've had Camille on the show now. They've got potentially Megan Bain someday. They've got Mariah is great, and she's just getting started.
They've been bringing in Mina Shirakawa. They're gonna, so there's a lot of women there, and so Britt at some point is going to have to step that up, or she's going to get left behind. And I feel like this match, I mean, I hope that this match with Mercedes is good. I think Mercedes can probably elevate her, maybe hide some things if she needs to, and kind of bring out more of her strengths. But I feel I'm a little concerned about how Britt is going to look in this match, because her matches back have been just okay. But again, I'm trying to remember she missed like 9 months or 10 months or whatever it was.
And it was a back injury. And
yeah, so there's
to go with it.
Same thing Thunder Rosa had.
Figure.
You know, but so yes, please. I would love to have. Oh wait, where did it go? Hold on, I will come back to Jamie where the comments moved. But God, please, can we get Yuka back? Yes, please. I don't know what Yuka Sakazaki has supposedly been back since like December or January. I don't know if they just don't have anything for her, which is insane. Just put her in a damn match. That's what you have for her.
AEW or not, I can't remember.
Please bring Yuka Sakazaki. She's fantastic. I would love to see her. Lady B said Jamie Hayter is another one who's heavily hyped by longtime AEW fans, and I hope TK spent the time properly introducing these talents to newer fans. And she said, no, one of the reasons I got into wrestling pods is sometimes fans do a better job explaining AEW talent storylines than the actual TV. Hey, I get it. Jamie is incredible.
This is why I love Walker and what he was doing in the tournament. And that's why I was saying that I think that people should take a lesson, is that building stories is supposed to be part of the broadcaster's job. Like the table, it's really cute and everything. And I love that who they are, but it's getting to the point where it's like the only time you're calling out like the wrong things, and you're chatting when you should be like telling stories.
It drives me insane, because they do it sometimes, because obviously I do live coverage of Collision, and like they'll be chatting and I'm like, and usually sometimes when I'm typing, I have to listen to what commentary is saying so that I can be like, okay, like if I miss them hit these moves, but I hear it, and then they'll just be chatting about anything, and I'm like, are you gonna focus on the damn match? They did it again.
It seems like Excalibur is really on his own in terms of like, because he knows all the moves, and even sometimes they get exposed in their own way, because they're like, oh, Excalibur, what is that move? And it's like, okay, that is kind of Bush League. Like,
well, it depends on what it depends on what it is, because if it's
I know if it's an absurd
like
move,
if it's
or
hologram
something.
and he's doing and Excalibur's not on Collision, so they don't. So Tony Schiavone and I don't know lucha moves. The hologram seems to sometimes just invent moves on the spot, very much like Vikingo, where Vikingo would kind of just do things on the spot, and you're like, so then I have to type that he did lucha things, because I have no clue on what that did. And sometimes I can't even like Nikki and I had hologram wrestled Angelico last night, and it was a great match. Angelico is criminally underrated. Like, I've always been a fan of his since I've seen him in AEW. And they did this move that Nikki and I had to rewind it 4 times to try to even explain what they did, because it was so hologram he like climbed up and stood on Angelico's back, and then it looked like he was going into a destroyer, but it was more of like a Hurricane Rana. Like, we had to watch it. We were like, is that a destroyer or was that a Hurricane Rana? But it was like it was like a roll through Hurricane Rana. Like, it was insane. So I was like, I get it when they're calling matches on the fly like that, and they're doing these moves that sometimes you don't know, and then sometimes there are things that they should know, or they chat. But I agree with you.
But I think they relied too heavily on him to be the primary guy when there's like, why are you all at the table then? I mean, you need to like, we can see what the capabilities of like building a matchup and making the match even more exciting are when you have people on the broadcast table that are telling you the things about the
and that's one thing
history
I really appreciate
of the stories and why it's important that so-and-so is fighting so-and-so. And I think AEW fans in general, and that, I mean, you don't have to be a new AEW fan.
There's a fine line between telling them what's going on and having your hand held and being spoon-fed everything.
I agree
with
that.
Which is what WWE does. They talk to their fans like they're dumb, which I can't. They still do it, and I can't stand it. I feel like they're spoon-feeding me everything, and they're holding my hand because they don't think I'm smart enough to watch what's happening in front of me. So I appreciate that AEW does not do that to an extent, but there is a gap that needs to be filled there. And that's one of the things I do appreciate about, I know Taz can get off into storylines too, but that's how I appreciate when Taz would be like, look at the way he gets his hips up, or he didn't get his hips up high enough. Like, so that type of stuff from Taz, I really appreciate when they used to do that segment where Taz would break down what a move was. And I wish they would bring that back, because Taz was really good at explaining, especially when it comes to submission-based stuff, because it's when you've got like Lee Moriarty out there, like, or Danielson, sometimes I don't know what submission moves are called, or I do know what they're called, but I don't know how to spell them because they're Japanese or Spanish. Right. So I'm like, I don't know how to spell that. And so
spell it phonetically and then look it up later.
That's how I had to look up how to spell Cazadora, because I had to sound it out and figure it out. And they finally, Google helped me figure out how to spell it. But so yeah, I agree. There definitely is that line of like telling stories, and because then you have like, I love Nigel, but Nigel will harp on Danielson all Collision long, and I'm like, my guy, we're in a completely different match. Like, I need you to focus on what is happening right here in front of you. So yes, I get both. I get that, and I can imagine as a newer fan, it can probably be super frustrating.
I tend to sort of lean towards the Taz, Excalibur, when they actually are focused and doing the thing that they do. And I just think it's important, because I think it does affect the presentation. I mean, sure. Which it is a presentation, so it needs to be presented well. And I sometimes they just get off on weird jam, like, guys, please.
I mean, sometimes I appreciate it because I enjoy the stories.
And I agree with you on the WWE thing 100%. I never want anything like that. I'd rather have them be off the rails than be WWE. I just think that the balance can be seen in someone like what Walker did with the G1 is that you can do both. There's plenty of goofing off at that table, as we well know.
Yeah, definitely.
But it also, when the match is like happening, and it's serious, and there's things going on, and you need to be focused on them. They're pointing out, like, look at how he's working that arm, and because they're reminding you, like, that's something that was heard, or that's something that was, those two had a beef about that.
And like, you can remind fans without constantly badgering in their head.
Yeah.
He's working on the knee. I can see him working the knee. I don't need you to tell me 38 times. I can see that, and I get it. And like, so yes, and there is a fine balance. And I think Walker, I think you're right. Walker does a really good balance.
Which is kind of terrifying, because like probably the youngest guy in the business is like the one that should be like, guys, pay attention to him, what he's doing, because he's doing it right. And I'm sure that takes a lot of prep. And again, I have no idea. And it's really hard with the way things have been going to sort of like figure out where.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had a lot of new people come into AEW in the last year.
Right. And real quick before I get to Lady B's comment, Yuka apparently is injured.
Okay. Bummer.
And I thought she had been cleared, but I guess I obviously was incorrect. So thank you for.
That's a giant bummer.
Thank you for that. Makes more sense as to that. It just wasn't, they didn't have nothing for her to do. It's because she can't, which is good to know. Or maybe I did know and forgot, which is also possible. Lady B said that when Blood and Guts happened, I complained about them not explaining the rules before the match on TV and was told by an AEW fan, just look it up. That sounds on brand for certain fans. Just
I don't. Those are the kinds of things you need to re-explain it in case that's silly.
Put it up on TV. Like, a lot of times they'll put up like, hey, these are the rules, like here, and then they'll read it to you, and then they'll go through it. And because the Blood and Guts, there's a lot happening. There's 2 rings.
Lots of us know how the G1 works, but they re-explain it all the time. I mean, because just in case. I mean, no, that's a totally, I will say this, is that's a totally reasonable, and it's also a widely felt sentiment in my anecdotal experience amongst AEW fans. And it's not like we hate you. It's, can you help us out a little? And we don't want our hand held. There are times when it should be the product itself saying, don't forget that this happened between those 2 people, and that's super important.
Right. Yeah, because there's, and even sometimes it helps for people who watch regularly, but you consume so much wrestling that sometimes you forget that, hey, this happened 3 years ago, or hey, this happened even last year, because you consume so much and you forget when.
Yeah,
I mean there'll be stuff that I'll remember, but I don't remember when it happened, and I'm like, wait a minute, was this? And so yeah,
you could yell back at them and be like, yeah, well, they never tell us anything.
yeah. And you don't want them to not tell you. Like, you don't want to be spoon-fed, but you also don't want to be just like, here it is, and then hope you remember the blood and guts.
Well, and they have, that's what
the blood and guts rules in a match if you've never seen it before. So like, yeah,
or don't
I get
know.
that.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, sometimes they do go off and you're just like,
yeah, all right,
I need you to listen. But yes, we'll stick with the AEW stuff before we get to the tag team shenanigans and whatnot. They made it seem like there was going to be some sort of announcement from Eddie Kingston. They just randomly announced it Friday, and I think he said he addresses All In. So we were like,
whatever that means.
What does that mean? Like, is he gonna be at all? Like, clearly he's recovering from surgery. Like, is he gonna be at All In? Like, is he gonna be like a special correspondent, like on the pre-show? I mean, on the pre-show, like, is he gonna be out there
on our show?
He's welcome to our show. Eddie Kingston, if you are not doing anything and want to be on a pre-show, come join our podcast next Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time.
That's right.
You don't have to leave your couch. You and your crutch can stay on your couch.
Totally. It's all remote. You're welcome anytime here.
Yes, Eddie Kingston is always welcome.
We would love to make you an honorary broad.
Yes, we would. Yes, we absolutely would. So yeah, so we thought, okay, or maybe is Eddie gonna be like, I'm gonna come back at All In 2025 in Arlington. Like, I didn't know where he was going with this. I don't know exactly what that was. I mean, like, I'm very glad I got to see. Anytime I can see and hear from Eddie Kingston is a great day. I love hearing from him. However, he basically just told Danielson that he doesn't have any fire in him anymore. And if he doesn't have any fire in him, he should just retire. He doesn't even need to have this match. He should just go. Or is he going to write his last love song to pro wrestling? Like, is he basically needs to light a fire under his ass, I guess is what that's what that whole thing was. But it was just very weird. Like, even for Eddie, which I don't know really what the point of it was. We were all, because my editor was like, what did he even say? And I was like, I guess he told Danielson that he was being a bitch and
he wasn't going to be back anytime soon.
Yeah, right? We got that because he's like on his crutch, which I am glad he said that first so that people didn't wildly speculate that Eddie.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I'm glad that Eddie's like,
just get that out of the way.
Yeah. He quickly was like, and he held his crutch like the entire time. Like, I'm not coming back. Like,
I'm not coming back anytime soon. Don't get your hopes up. Don't.
Like, it took me a while before I was cleared for surgery. I'm probably not coming back to like next spring or summer, probably, as if everything goes according to plan. So he got that out of the way. But yeah, and so we had originally, if you saw this yesterday, we had in our title Eddie Kingston announcement, and then I told Mel I messaged her.
Kayfabe.
Listen. Our people, I'm not treating them like they're children.
I'm joking.
I'm so joking. That's how I responded to our tweet last night, and I was like, "Well, that was not an announcement." So we'll be talking about something else. So
I loved you when your tweet was my favorite thing because you were just like, "We will be talking about something else," because it was basically your tweet was, "We're going to be talking about what actually happened," because what was that?
It was. I was just like, I love Eddie Kingston, but I was
paraphrasing. That's what I read into it because I was like, yes. Oh dear God, we have.
I messaged Mel last night and I was like, we should probably change the title of the show before we go live because people are gonna be like, wait, Eddie Kingston made an announcement. No, he didn't.
No.
He didn't.
No.
He was talking shit to Danielson.
He talked in the way that only
Eddie Kingston can talk shit to somebody.
And Danielson. No, what's so funny is like the trick on that though. What's great about it is every time you do an update like that, it reposts the link, so it kind of doesn't hurt anything because it's like,
there we go.
Oh, okay, so whatever. So it's just a happy way for me to. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is. Well, there goes that.
Yeah, so I was trying. It was funny because I was on live coverage, and so I'm trying to like give a little rundown of what he said, and I'm like, what did he say? Like, he told Danielson, like,
you suck.
Yeah, like, get your shit together.
He kind of accused him of telegraphing the ending. He's like,
he was like, yeah, he was basically like, if this is how you're showing up, then don't show up at all. Just retire now. It's kind of how it came off, which is a very Eddie way to handle things and to talk to people. So I was just like, so I had to like rewind it a little bit and just kind of be like, Eddie said, and I put in there, Eddie said he's not going to be back anytime soon. So I was like, let's clear that off right off the bat. Eddie's not coming back anytime soon. But yeah, it was just like, he kind of, I saw a tweet. Somebody said, they're like, Danielson, Eddie says that you're a bitch and he's waiting for you next year. And he was like, and then she was like, I also heard that so-and-so said this about you and Kenny Omega said this about you. So basically saying these are all the matches. So like next year you have to come back and wrestle all these people. And my friend was like, and Nigel said,
uh-oh.
Yeah, so I was just like, okay, I guess that was supposed to light a fire under Danielson.
Or create a meme, I guess.
There's that too. Lady B said, at this point, I'm expecting to see a video from all of Brian's rivals basically telling him to stop being a bitch. Then the video ends with Birdie and Buddy saying, get it together, Dad. Right? Exactly. Yeah, Dad.
I would actually love that.
That'd be great.
Wasn't that what Jeff Jarrett's been doing? Is being like, you suck and you need to be
pretty
prepared.
much. He's just been like, and so Danielson's
what's
like,
wrong with you? Why aren't you being serious? You were in my best friend Owen Hart's tournament and you did this thing and now you're like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, this is a meme. They might be actually. You know what? I'll credit maybe if whether they meant to do it or not. This might just be an attempt at a meme. Just all these people, like, because I mean, now it's a meme though, right? Because everybody's like, and your laundry stinks, and you smell like Jim's, and you have an ugly haircut. Like, I mean,
yeah.
You're not serious. You look at your haircut.
Which is funny how they cut they air this promo after Danielson cut this incredible promo Wednesday night. Like he helped. So he they aired it on Twitter like right after it happened because Danielson helped carry Yuta to the back and just kind of like it from the way the camera was, it looks like he just dropped him, but I think he was letting him go and Wheeler, just because he could not stand, kind of like fell forward. But the way the camera was, it made it look like he just dropped Yuta and was like, all right, I'm done with you
now.
So then he cuts this really impassioned promo and he's clearly got that fire under him. So maybe Eddie didn't see it. I don't know. Because Danielson was like, you've crossed the line. Like, this is too much. And he told him, he said, do not come to my house. I saw what you did to Hangman Page. You went to his house and he was like, you should find out what happened the last time somebody tried to break into my house. He brought in a real life situation and I like vaguely remembered it. And then I had to go look it up because I couldn't remember the details. So like 10 years ago, Danielson and Bree were coming home from a night out or whatever. And they could see two people like in the carport or something like that. And he was like, our first reaction was, because this was pre-children, was that it was something was wrong with their dog. And so Bree was like, I'm going to check on the dog. And he saw the guy run out the back door and there were two of them and one got away. Danielson caught the guy and put him in a sleeper hold and held him in a sleeper hold until the cops got there. And they arrested the guy. So I just thought it was really funny that he just like, he brought that real life situation out. It wasn't even like a fake, you know, how they keep breaking into.
They still live in Washington?
This was when they were living in, this was when they were living in Vegas.
Okay.
This happened. I think they're still in Vegas. if I'm not mistaken. But they were in Vegas, and they were both still with WWE.
I mean, I know they wouldn't live in
time.
the part of Washington he's from, because if you can leave there, you do. It's just, I have friends that actually went to.
No, they may not be in Vegas anymore, but they were in Vegas at the time, and
But there are really nice parts of Western Washington that would be great for kids. So, and he's such a hippie, like,
yeah,
he's so hilarious because deep down, like, he's so like badass, but he's also like the biggest hippie ever. And he's just I want to play with my kids and be a wholesome dad.
So, right. Yeah. How dare you leave wrestling to be a good father? What the hell's wrong with you? Don't you know anything about that? Don't you know anything about wrestlers?
And you still have the wherewithal to like be like practical. And what's wrong with you? You're supposed to retire when your head's so bashed and you don't remember your own name.
Yeah, you're supposed to be like unhunged and shit. What's wrong?
Isn't that the rule?
How dare you take care of yourself?
Oh no, wait, we don't do that in wrestling anymore. Yay! I mean, we try not to.
We try not to, yeah. But yeah, so it was just, I thought that promo was excellent. So I was like, I don't know when they filmed the Eddie promo. I was like, maybe we should have aired the Eddie promo first, because the Danielson promo, like, that promo was really good, and his fire is definitely there. Like, he's ready to murder Swerve now. Like, that's the Danielson we've been waiting for. That fire has been lit. So I don't know what they should have aired Eddie another time. Or just not.
Or maybe they're just trying to get like every single person he's ever pissed off to call him out.
That could be that too. And
which
also,
I did hilarious. I would love, I know it could never happen, but it would be hilarious if they could pull in someone from WWE that he had just like a crazy like feud with, and to do the same thing. And like someone from New Japan, even like Shinsuke Nakamura, or I don't know if they wrestled, but like, I don't know. But it would be hilarious if they could get people like that from. I would love to see some, just, I don't know. I'm trying to think of some like older wrestler that I can still tolerate. Just be like, listen here, Danielson. Have like Chono come out and give him a freaking lecture.
Yeah, there you go. Have Chono come out.
Where's your fighting spirit?
Then you've got, when you have Nigel constantly roasting, because I was thinking of ROH, and I was like, well, you've got Nigel constantly roasting him, so they don't really even need to bring in anybody from ROH because they have him.
They have Nigel.
One thing that I did not realize, I didn't think about it until I saw that Eddie was supposed to be on Collision last night, and I was like, wait a minute. I was like, is Eddie coming to address, or is he coming to see his best friend Penta one last time? Because I was like, that's his best friend. Because I was like, we keep talking about like, how is Lucha Brothers leaving? How is that going to affect Pac? And how is that going to affect Alex Abrahantes? Did not even think about Eddie Kingston. Penta's his best friend.
Yeah, that's right. You guys posted that and you made me sad immediately. I was like,
yeah, it made me
thanks.
Sad. I remembered it. You're
it's
welcome.
like,
I made myself
I guess
sad.
If they have to be sad, I have to be sad too.
Yeah, I made myself sad, and then I found the gif of him saying, he puts his arm around Penta, and he's like, Penta, that's my best friend. And I was like, and Phoenix was just kind of like standing there like, well, I guess I'm not his best friend.
That's why they're leaving. He's like, well, Eddie Kingston said that he was my best friend, and I'm not. So.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe that's what it was. And Nikki said, oh, yeah. She said ZSJ would definitely do him. He'd just call him a dickhead. He would be like, you're a dickhead. Lady B says, was that Brian promo on TV yet? It sucks that I feel like I miss key things sometimes because I'm not checking AEW's Twitter every single day. It has not been on TV yet. I wonder if they're saving it for Dynamite because it was such a good promo. And I think the reason that time that they pre-taped it is because he was taking Yuta to the back, and that's what, like, it wasn't even necessarily that those house, because, you know, Swerve hit him with that really vicious house call, and I think that pissed him off. But I think him going after Yuta the way he did pissed him off. Like, I think it was all of it. Like, then he was just like, I saw you come into Hangman's house and do that to me. Because he was like, and so I feel like that. I kind of thought they were going to show it on Collision last night, but I guess because they have the Eddie thing, I wonder if they're going to show it during Dynamite because it's a really good promo.
They have not. See, this has been a complaint.
The promo before, you know, where Hangman and Jeff Jarrett, and then the Tony and Mariah, where they were both fighting at the same time. They showed that on Twitter. They showed it on Rampage, and I think they showed it on Collision. Or no, they showed it on Dynamite again or something.
But I guess there were some really good ones that they have not actually, like, I guess there was a good Hangman one that they never showed, or they showed a part of it, but not the whole promo on Dynamite. So
I don't remember.
I think that this is becoming something that's been a problem for a lot of people, is that because I've missed a bunch of these promos and heard about them on podcasts too.
Well, and I get it, but like, I mean, WWE does digital exclusive too. Like they do backstage segments.
I'm not saying
and stuff
that.
No,
Yeah.
I'm just saying like they do it too. Like so I guess the assumption is you
Maybe
should
they're
check
trying
social,
to drive people
you
to
should-
their Twitter more.
That's what I'm saying. You should check social media because it's being posted on our social media pages, because I mean, that's also something WWE does. Like, I think the point is a lot of modern wrestling companies utilize both social media and TV. So you should go to our social media and check it out, I think is the point. But there are certain, and some things they're good about airing on TV afterwards, and then some they're not. And again, I think the Danielson, they waited because they were doing this Eddie promo. It would have been weird for Eddie to be like, "You're a bitch, you have no fire," and then you see this promo from Wednesday where he already has the fire lit. So maybe they were spacing it out and they're going to show it this week, or who knows? I don't. Maybe they forgot because they're getting ready to go to the UK for 2 weeks and they're just not.
And they've got that deal in Arlington.
Maybe they just weren't thinking. Who knows?
They're
but if you see the promo, or I quote tweeted it from my account. But maybe I can try to tweet it so you don't have to, you can see it there. But it's a great promo if you're able to find it. And I have to go back. There's a couple promos I need to watch. I need to watch the MXM one from Friday night that I missed. And I need to watch, there was one from Sammy and Dustin last night that I need to go back and watch as well. But we went right into New Japan or pretty close after we started watching New Japan last night. And so I didn't really catch the promos. And then Jermaine has a question about the Tonga since the Tonga twins were shown backstage with Mercedes last night, and it looks like they're going to get signed by AEW. Will AEW reintroduce the women's tag titles? I hope not, because they need to. We talked about this last week. Obviously you probably didn't hear that conversation, but we mentioned this last week as well, that until they regularly book their women's division, if what they're doing now, if they can sustain that for a while and continue to do well with it, then I would introduce women's tag titles. But until then, I think that would just be too much for them. It took them 5 years just to get to the point they're at now. Not that I think it'll take another 5 years to get to women's tag titles, but I feel like they need to have sustained success with how they book their women before they introduce a whole other set of titles to that. But I feel like they eventually will, but I think not. I think not now, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Tony is like, no, we're doing this next year. In 2025, we're going to have women's tag titles. That's certainly possible, especially if he's looking at the Tonga twins, because you've got the Renegades that you could also, I mean, you don't obviously have to be twins to have them, but that made me think of, the Renegades being there as well. So perhaps, but if I were Tony, I would personally hold off, but depending on the talent that's available, maybe he changes his mind and brings them in sooner. So, do you have any thoughts you would like to add to that?
No, I think that covers.
Okay.
I mean, you kind of nailed it, like this, because we've had the discussion, and I'm not obviously welcome new people, and we really appreciate you being
we
here.
We definitely appreciate that. Or if you've been here and maybe have now decided to join the chat, we also appreciate that as well.
Yeah.
And if you're just watching and you're not in the chat, we appreciate you too. You don't have to be involved for us to be appreciative
you can support us any way you want. We appreciate it.
We do. All right. So we have now come to the portion
of the program. I'm going to let you go off on this one, because
the portion of the program where we discuss tag team wrestling, which is a conversation we have had many times, especially over the last few weeks, about how all the major promotions suck at booking tag team divisions. I watched WWE, and somebody took the time last week to break down all of the WWE tag teams for us, which thank you for that. It's not necessarily the number of teams, it is how they are used. It's the same. AEW has quite a few tag teams, but they focus on the same few. WWE tends to do that. TNA does that. They focus on the same teams. And New Japan doesn't really, their tag team division has undergone some changes with Hikuleo has left, God is gone. So they've got their stuff, too. So everybody seems to be struggling with the tag team division. ROH, which I do watch every week. It's something I was an ROH fan going into this, but I also cover ROH weekly for Daily DDT, so I watch it regardless. And so the tag team division there has been kind of a mess. Like, they had some good stuff for a while. Like, you've got the infantry. There was the workhorsemen. Unfortunately, Anthony Henry was hurt for a little bit. He was let go, was brought back as soon as he was healed. And their first match back, JD Drake got injured. JD Drake's injury appears to be worse than they originally thought. I have not heard of timetable of when he will return. And they are currently putting Anthony Henry with an indie wrestler named Beef, who he is apparently related to by marriage, which we just found out on commentary this week. So they've put Anthony and Beef together, and they won their first match. So I don't know if this is going to be a tag team until JD Drake is ready, or if they're just kind of testing things out. Because one thing about Arlington, they were kind of just testing some stuff out. And I did like being in one centralized place from ROH seemed to be going really well for them. They were more focused. This Thursday, we had 3 whole title matches, not proving ground matches. We did have one proving ground match, but we had actual title matches, 3 of them. None of them were women's matches, unfortunately. But if Red Velvet is in fact injured, that perhaps is why. So it seems to be we're finally getting back on track. Then they announce last night on Collision, we are going to have the ROH Tag Team Champions, the Kingdom, defend their titles against the newly formed tag team of Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara returned to TV. He'd never been in ROH before, so he made his ROH debut a couple of weeks ago to help Dustin Rhodes, and let me back up a little bit. So Dustin Rhodes and the Von Erichs they just won the Trios Championships at Battle of the Belts 9. What is that? Whatever Battle of the Belts we just had. They won the vacant titles. They had a match earlier in the night. The Von Erichs left the building, went back home. Dustin's still there. Dustin gets beat down by Dark Order. And so he doesn't look like the dumb babyface with no friends. Sammy Guevara makes his debut to come help Dustin Rhodes. Sammy Guevara is also from the Houston area, so I guess they were trying to get some of that, the local love there with him. So he comes and he helps them out. Well, then they showed I'm glad they at least showed some of this before the match last night. They showed some of the clips of like what's been going on. So on Honor Club, the Trios title was being defended against Cage of Agony. Dark Order came in, they got involved. The Kingdom came in, they got involved. Sammy Guevara and I think Fuego came, because Fuego has been down there at the ROH tapings recently. I don't know if they're going to sign him with ROH, but he's been there. So he comes out, he helps them. And so that's how we get to this match last night. Why was this match not on ROH? I don't know. I guess because ROH tapings were already done at the esports stadium. And so they didn't want to wait till after All In for whatever reason. And then I guess we get our answer further. So this match randomly happens. And they point out that the Kingdom have been champions for over 200 days. And then there were some shenanigans, and we see Beast Mortos, who has kind of aligned himself with the United Undisputed Kingdom. He's been with them. They come out, they're beating up Dustin and Sammy. Then there's another tag team came out. There's so many shenanigans that I can't stand. They've been ROH and AEW and WWE have all, New Japan with House of Torture, have all been leaning heavily into this bullshit, which I can't stand. And so that leads to the Kingdom dropping their tag team titles after 234 days to a tag team who's been together for 2 weeks when the infantry was right there. And again, I asked myself, as I often do when watching ROH, what are we doing? Nobody seems to know the answer.
Sam, we're starting a segment. It's called "What Are We Doing Here?"
that is a segment. We are going to make this.
This is just a whole segment where we put all this stuff into one basket so we don't have to spread it. What are we doing here?
What are we doing? Which is probably going to be Sam's ROH segment. So I don't know what we're doing. I will say, listen, I've said this many times. I love Dustin Rhodes. I am a fan of his. I don't necessarily, I know a lot of people, Sammy Guevara rubs them the wrong way. He's done a lot of questionable things. He's said some very inappropriate, unfortunate things that he said when he was on the indies that he's apparently made amends for that or whatever. And I know that some people just don't like Sammy. I get it. I don't hate him the way that some people do, but I totally get why some people just don't like him. But Sammy was off TV because he gave Jeff Hardy a concussion, and then some people say that he ignored the referee, continued the match, did his move, then they ended the match. Some people say that it was just missing communication. He didn't realize he was supposed to stop. Whatever happened there, he was still suspended for it. He was suspended for a while. Then he left and was on paternity. He was on paternity leave for a little bit. And then so they bring him back. And I don't have a problem with him being with Dustin. I think it makes sense because they're both from Houston. Maybe being with somebody like Dustin Rhodes will kind of set Sammy on the right track, keep him on the straight and narrow. And they typically put younger guys with veterans anyway. So I figured that's what we were doing. Why we're putting tag team titles on him when Dustin is already a trios champion for the same promotion. Are we doing it because we want to pop in Houston? In the Arlington area? Is that what that was for? Again, what are we doing here? Because is Dustin going to defend both titles? Is 1 week, I guess 1 week he will defend the tag team titles, and then the next week he will defend the trios titles. Once they move away from Von Erich country, are they going to I don't think they're going to drop the trios titles anytime soon. Maybe at Final Battle, but I don't. And I feel and a lot of people think this too, that the Von Erichs will probably win the tag titles at All In next year, which I could absolutely see happening. But I'm just at a complete loss for why they did what they did last night when there are established title. There's established champions. I saw because I said it. I was like, oh my God, the infantry is right there. Nikki said the same thing. I saw so many comments. They were like, why did they not drop the title to the infantry? That tag team is over. They've been since under the Tony's ROH, they have been one of the premier tag teams. They have come out on AEW television, and when they've been on there, they've shown out and done really well. They're over as hell.
They come on Dynamite and Collision, and people are huge. I love the infantry. Obviously we're infantry fans. We've talked about it a billion times, but I'm not even watching ROH, and for a lot of the reasons that you talk about, because there's no incentive for me to watch ROH because of these continuing. Mm-hmm. When I saw this, I was like, oh no.
Yeah. I knew
gonna be really, really, really unhappy about that.
Yeah, I was a couple of minutes behind because sometimes with the live coverage, I have to pause things to kind of catch up and type, and so I had paused it. But the ROH DM was going off, and so I knew something happened, and I was like, they dropped the titles, didn't they? I was like, that's why this chat's going off.
So that they could turn it into a ladder, a trio, a triple threat ladder match.
Oh, that's for the main. That's the AEW stuff, which we'll get to that too. Okay. So that has nothing to do with the ROH stuff.
Okay.
But we had 2 sets of tag team shenanigans last night. We had
I'm sorry. Yeah. So that's and then the ROH stuff happened.
Yes, and then the AEW stuff, which we will get to.
Right.
But
okay.
Yeah, Again, I have nothing against Dustin. I don't necessarily have anything against Sammy. I think this was the wrong choice. I don't want to let it play out because I feel like I don't understand. There's no good reason. And how do you do that to the Kingdom? They are champions for 234 days. You have them lose the ROH titles on AEW programming to a team that has been together for 2 weeks. ROH the Kingdom has been an ROH tag team for a decade. Like,
yeah, they're staple. I mean, I know
the Kingdom, they were called the OGK. They were the originals.
Yeah.
It was them and Maria, and like, I
mean, I wonder if, I know Maria's having a lot of personal
I was just
health
about to say, I know
issues,
that Maria's
and I
having surgery
wonder
next
if
month.
maybe that's to get, because Mike is her husband, and
Sure, and I can understand that.
I mean, I don't like don't believe me. That's horrible. That's the worst way to do it ever. But
yeah, Maria has, and I actually was thinking that right before you said it. I was like, well, perhaps because Maria has been open. She's having surgery next month. They don't know whether or not it's cancer. They won't know until the surgery is done. She's
essentially having the one that will hopefully help prevent and
right.
make sure that she doesn't have it.
Sure, I'm sure they do want to have Mike off the road, which I completely understand. Again, the infantry was right there. Why did you not put it on? Put it on the Outrunners. The Outrunners are over as hell. The Outrunners said, I saw Truth Magnum tweet last night. They sold out of all their merch. AEW had their merch last night. And they sold out of it.
I love, the Outrunners hate on socials is always something that's so interesting to me.
Outrunners,
because it's like, well, the numbers don't bear out your hate, but that's fine.
And even I don't like the idea, but if you're gonna just randomly put it on a tag team, why not put it on the MXM collection? Mm-hmm. You just brought them in. They're over as hell. Yeah, they're on AEW, but I mean, the Kingdom they were hopping back. They hopped back and forth between ROH and Collision, and were defending their titles in AEW, even though on Collision when ROH tapes right after. But so the Kingdom was there hopping back and forth. You can have MXM do the same thing if that's your goal. I mean, I don't really like the idea of putting on MXM when they've been there for 3 weeks, but I mean, they've been there longer than Dustin and Sammy have been a tag team. Like, if that was your goal, is to free up Mike Bennett so that he can be at home, I get it, but you still could have made it make sense within ROH programming.
Yeah, that would make me mad if I was someone that's
if I'm the infantry, I'm pissed.
They literally got passed over.
You could even do Top Flight, because Top Flight splits their time between ROH and AEW. And for a while, Top Flight was only on ROH. It was them and Action Andretti were doing trio stuff down there all the time. And then when there were injuries, Action Andretti stood in and he became part of that team so quickly. So they didn't have to do what they did. And I don't understand it at all. And I don't
blame you.
Lady B says Dustin's tweet made it seem like his goal is to elevate the titles, which sure, he's Dustin Rhodes. Do the titles need additional elevation from a main roster star? I would argue no. My guess is also ROH is another reason I think ROH is moving to TV. We are putting a title on a Rhodes, because who do wrestling fans know? The Rhodes family. But he already had a title. He has a title with the Von Erichs, who people know. They know the Von. Maybe they don't know, these two. Maybe they don't know Ross and Marshall. But a lot of people who don't watch wrestling saw the movie. They know who the Von Erichs are.
Yeah,
you can do that with the trios title. You have the Rhodes, you have titles on Rhodes and Von Erichs on ROH. You could have left them with the trios, put them on the infantry. I mean, I guess they wanted it on, and I guess AEW fans, obviously they know Sammy Guevara. He's a pillar. He's been there since day one. So I guess that side of it going in, if you're bringing ROH to television, but why does Dustin Rhodes have 2 titles in 2024? And again, I say that as someone who loves Dustin Rhodes. I mean, on the one hand, as I told my editor last night, I'd rather Dustin have 2 titles than Chris Jericho have 2 titles.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
But I don't see how that's elevating. But, and again, I don't, if you're going into TV, Dustin Rhodes and the Von Erichs already have titles. Like Dustin Rhodes does not need another title. Build up a new tag team. Perhaps they don't hold the titles very long. Maybe they get to ROH television. ROH moves to TV. They see Dustin and Sammy with the belts. They build up the infantry for the TV audience. They build up the outrunners. Hopefully, I don't know when JD Drake is supposed to come back. If he's healthy enough, you put the workhorsemen in there too. Got Top Flight. So I guess, and then perhaps you build those up and you have them like, and that's the other thing. Like, did they hold these titles until Final Battle in December? Because Kyle Sparks, who has been, as an honorary broad, he filled in for Mel a few months ago, and he is a ROH fan and if anybody is an ROH historian besides Paul Fontaine, it's Kyle Sparks. This man has incredible knowledge, and he put out a thread last night. No ROH title has changed hands on Honor Club other than the pay-per-view. So on regular TV programming, titles have never changed under Tony Khan. They have always happened either on an ROH pay-per-view or AEW TV or an AEW pay-per-view, never on ROH television, which is insane. And I did not realize that
until trying to sell this product as a monthly subscription.
Right. Well, I mean, Athena sells it.
That's that's not a long-term model, especially since if she's that big of a star, you're going to want her on television. I mean, obviously, like you said, I think there has to be a place for ROH on the TV, otherwise, like, you need to do something else with it.
Yeah, so that's what my thing is, like, so what do you do at Final Battle? Like, do you have Dustin Rhodes defend, if Dustin and Sammy are still ROH, or they're still tag team champions, does Dustin go defend his tag title to open the show? And then you ask this man who is in his 50s, who wrestles great, but do you have him turn around and come later in the show and defend his trios championship? Like, if they're both still those champions by then, I think there's one more Battle of the Belts this quarter. Do Dustin and Sammy lose the title because they've been on TV a little bit? Maybe ROH fans, maybe they do Dustin and Sammy versus the infantry on Battle of the Belts and do a title change there.
An actual title change for a change?
Right. On a Battle of the Belts?
On a Battle of the Belts.
Who does that? Not AEW. They fill a vacant title though. But so I don't know. I am just all kinds of confused. I feel like they undid a lot of what they just did. I feel like they should keep ROH in a stationary venue. I feel like they pay more attention, but this just feels like and I was talking to somebody last night about this. She's also an ROH fan, and she was like, we were talking about how ROH oftentimes feels like an afterthought. And she said it feels like other than the women's division, do they just throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and they don't care whether it sticks or not, because they're just going to undo it anyway, or they're just going to pretend they're just not going to care because they don't think anybody else cares. And so again, what are we doing here? Because I certainly do not know. I don't know that they know at this point, but maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe Dustin and Sammy is exactly what these tag titles need. Maybe they'll elevate the entire tag team division in ROH. Maybe I have it all wrong, but I expect more of the same. And again, that doesn't take away from anything that Dustin and Sammy do. I think they're great in the ring, but I just
but that's not that doesn't seem like you said, there was no story there, and you had this like legacy team, and they just
basically hot shotted a story that was just like, you're just not even boiling the water yet. Like, you're just putting the water
gives you the WWE creeps, unfortunately.
Right. It was just like you just put the water in the pot. It's not even boiling yet, and you just hot shotted right to the end. And for what? For what reason?
I mean, this sounds really like, this is not what I want to say about this, because people are still paying for it, but maybe they really do have TV and he's just like doesn't care anymore, because in a week
he hasn't cared in a long time.
I know, but I mean, maybe maybe this is like end stages of the sort of the disorder he's had the entire time, which is like not being able to like, I bought this thing with my own money, but I don't know what to do with it. And
again, it comes back to the thing we've talked about before, where like, so Tony is heavily involved in the Athena, Billy, Lexi story, which has been phenomenal. It's the best thing that ROH has had. And he's been closely involved in obviously the Tony Mariah story as well. So like, it seems like he can focus on two things and then everything else is just whatever I have time for. And I get it. The man has a full plate, but we've said it a million times. Loosen your grip. Let some other people in ROH take over. Chris Hero is right there. Now we can't, unfortunately, Maria is dealing with her health, which is way more important than anything with the women's division. But prior to her health issues, Maria had said she had tried to get involved with the women and was told no. And so the only time she's involved with the women is if they come to her and ask her for advice, which she will freely give them. But there's nobody that's like running. So it's just, and I guess Chris Hero, is kind of the same way. Like he's down there and he's helping out, but like he doesn't have the book, which that's somebody, Chris Hero is somebody you probably could give the book to because he was ROH for a very long time. He helps with booking in West Coast Pro. Like he has the experience. Lean on him more. You've got people down there. You've got Jerry Lynn down there. Like lean on him some more. Maybe you are leaning on him a little bit, but lean into it a little bit more. Just loosen your grip a little bit and figure out if you're putting ROH on TV, then it needs to be a TV product. We've seen how hard Rampage has struggled, and then there's been times where Rampage has been great. They've had phenomenal things happening. Then they backtrack a little bit. And that's the same thing with ROH. And we've talked about how ROH, like their pay-per-views always, always, always deliver. It's never the talent that is the issue. It is the booking of this talent. And between Supercard and Death Before Dishonor, it was a lot of forgettable, aimless TV. After Death Before Dishonor, it seemed like we were working back. We were starting to turn that corner. And then this happens. And it feels like we're going back 3 more steps. And now I don't know what we're doing. And I don't know where we're going. And I don't know why Dustin Rhodes is a tag team champion and a trios champion. I don't know what we're doing here. And I don't think that you know what you're doing here either. That's what it feels like. It feels like we're all just blindly holding hands together, figuring out what's going to happen. I do know that they did, I will say this, they did pre-tape this coming week's episode. And so we do know that Mark Briscoe called, because I heard about it at the tapings, and then, but on this week, Mark Briscoe did call out Beast Mortos because Beast Mortos pinned him in an AEW match. And he's like, no, that doesn't sit right with me. Come fight me for my title. So we're having Mark Briscoe defend his title 2 weeks in a row, which doesn't happen very much in ROH. So I'm very glad that we have this title match, but otherwise I don't know. Yes. Lady B says, if I'm remembering correctly, Tony bought ROH partly to own the archive footage, right? It all seems like too much TV for him to book. Yes. A lot of it was to save the ROH the archive so that it would not, because had WWE consumed it, it would be very hard to get to ROH things
if they didn't just bury it at all,
which is probably what would have happened. So I am still thankful that Tony purchased it and that he is the one who has access to ROH footage and archives. And I'm assuming if they go to television, the Honor Club will exist to just be their archive, which that alone is worth your $9.99 a month, because there's over 20 years of incredible stuff down there. So I think that is worth a lot, but the booking, it's too much TV for him, and he's got to loosen the grips and let somebody else. And I know that's hard for him and I get it, and he's done great with this Athena story, but and he's done right by Mark Briscoe, which I appreciate, but then you can only do so much with that. Just let somebody, he doesn't even have to completely let the book go. Just loosen the grip a little bit. Let some other people come in there who love ROH and want it to succeed and work together to make it good TV, especially if it is actually coming to TV. You've got to make it where it's, you know, I mean, it is on True. It will likely be on True TV. So maybe it's more. Who knows? I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. He's using too much AEW TV to try and sell ROH TV, which is interfering with everything on every level because it's bad. And I mean, he didn't just buy he bought everything. He bought the rings, he bought the production equipment, he bought the whole enchilada, as they say. Like
and thankfully he did. He put a lot of people to work.
I mean, when he purchased it clearly with not just for that legacy, but also with the intent of running it somehow.
Yeah,
I mean, because you don't buy the equipment and the whole stuff. You just buy the thing, and the rest you auction off. But he
and he's putting and he's employing people, which is what we love. And we talk about that.
And I appreciate that.
There's so many. So like there are more positive, and I still think that Tony was the correct person to buy ROH. I don't think that, but I do think that like we're 2 years in. Let's figure out like where we need to go from here.
Mm-hmm.
Who do I trust to allow them to have this book? If Danielson retires from part-time, let Danielson, people have been joking about that. Go let Danielson book.
Who knows ROH better than that guy?
Better than me. Lady B said to let me book ROH. She'll start the petition. I will give input. I would let Kyle Sparks book that before me. But I will happily give some ideas. But yeah, I mean,
it could be
again, I think ROH is in good. I think the correct person purchased the company. I just wish that his plate is very full. Yeah, and I get it. And I think he means well. I think he
2
was
football
trying to
teams and 2 wrestling program, 3 wrestling programs.
I think Tony meant well. I think that his heart is in the right place, but now we've just got to figure out what we do from here and how do we elevate ROH and make it better. And let's re-examine that once we get them to TV. Like, I think that's that's his first big goal and has been kind of this whole time is how do we put ROH on TV?
On television.
Okay, now we have ROH on TV. How do we keep it there? Mm-hmm. How do we get people to watch another wrestling program without paying $9.99 a month for it? Right. So, or how do we pretend that we care about tag team wrestling? Because
don't push
more shenanigans, as if this was not enough for Sam to deal with. Sam then had to cover this very long main event, which I try to like not write down every single thing that they're doing because it's too much. But I also try to be accurate what is happening. And this match they were doing everything they possibly could do. I think my slide for the main event was something like 940 words. And my sister was like, I'm not reading all that. And I'm like, well, for the people who didn't watch and want to know what happened in the main event, I got you. I got you. This match was very long. And it involves a team that I don't like and another team that I don't really like. And Anthony Bowens, as Nikki and I kept saying, in that match, Anthony Bowens is the only person we like. In that match. And all I could think is, when are we getting Anthony Bowens away from this? Yeah. When are we getting him away? Because it opened with a really terrible rap where he made some very inappropriate references, as he does. He gets called out for it on Twitter, and Tony just doesn't care. I get it, First Amendment and all that, but sometimes you should not allow your wrestlers to say the things that they say on a regular basis. This has been an ongoing issue with Max Caster for 2 years now. It is still a problem. And last night did not do him any favors. And I was just like, can they both lose? Can we just not? Can we just have Motor City appear and they are automatically in this match and they win the titles and solve all of the tag team problems? Can we just skip to that? did we somehow talk Motor City into not going to WWE? And somebody brought this comment up, and I saw it before. DIY and Street Profits had a phenomenal match on SmackDown. I hate it because they're not Street Profits won, and they're not gonna win those titles because the Bloodline has them, and the Bloodline are gonna hold those titles for a long time. So if Motor City goes over there, they're gonna have to win the titles in NXT, I guess, because the Bloodline's gonna hold them forever. And if Sammy and Jay stay on Raw for a while, they might end up with those tag team titles, so that then you have Bloodline storyline people having tag titles and on both TV shows, and then Motor City will not. I guess Motor City will have to go to NXT to win tag team titles. But who knows? Maybe that's where they're going. So yeah, this was a match that happened. I mean, the match itself was not like, as much as I don't care for FTR and I don't necessarily, I'm over the Acclaimed. The match itself was pretty solid. It went on far too long and was too much to keep up with. Poor Nikki, who had to help me make sure that I saw things, or as I'm typing, she's like, hey, this happened. And then I have to pause it. And I'm like, okay, now I'm on this part. What happened? So thankfully, shout out to Nikki, who helped me get this match covered. And who often helps. She helps me.
Sisters are good.
She often helps me with Collision. And Monday night, I will be on live coverage for Raw. Thankfully, the one thing I do enjoy about when I do have to cover WWE is they're a bit slower paced when it comes to things. So
they spoon feed you everything, so you can pretty much write it down.
Right. So so on those days, I do appreciate it.
I mean, at least they make your writing job a little easier.
They do. I do appreciate that.
Because it's so formulaic and it's so predictable that you don't have to.
Right.
You can almost write ahead a little bit.
They'll go on commercial break, which allows me time to catch up with my writing.
Yeah, because those are like 40 minutes or something.
Yeah, and they will they still do that thing where they'll bring a wrestler out, go to commercial, do a backstage segment, and the wrestler's been standing in the ring the whole time. They still do that.
Of course they do.
So yeah, it was more shenanigans, of course, because why not? That's what we do these days. But all the major promotions do it way too much. And at least that was the one nice thing about G1 is they dialed it back a bit with House of Torture. House of Torture still had their stuff, but it wasn't as obnoxious as it has been. They dialed it back. But WWE, AEW, and ROH rely way too much on it.
There's just too much. I mean, call me a purist, but I'm not guilty. There's way too much outside interference with stuff going on right now.
And AEW has seemed to really lean heavily into this, and I don't know if it's because former WWE employees who work there, that's the wrestling they know, and so they're like, let's do it here, and I need somebody who does not work, who has never worked for WWE, to be like, no, let's not do that. Let's do, if we're the alternative, let's do some alternative things, like not doing that.
Like good wrestling matches, for example, which is why we all tuned in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I tune in for. Maybe you.
That's why I'm there.
Maybe not.
You know,
I'm here. If this is where the best wrestle, then I don't need outside interference in every single match or in most of the matches. I don't need that. That's you wrestle. If this is where the best wrestle, then we don't need so much outside interference. If the story calls for it, sure, we can do it occasionally. But we don't need to do it all the time. But it loses.
I mean, it's just like anything else. I mean, they talk about the same things with ladder matches and the gimmick matches and stuff like that. You do it too often, it gets kind of like, oh, hey, another ladder match. Oh, hey, another.
Speaking of.
Well, I mean, I kind of did that on purpose, but when I heard that, I was like, well, I mean, I guess. Are London ladders different than American ladders?
Apparently so. Maybe it's like the Japanese tables and the American tables. They don't
use the metric system. They use the same as us. So
right. And so and then we know the Japanese tables are much thinner and they're harder
to break.
They will no-sell the hell out of you, because that happened last night to I think it was Suji and Shingo's match. They were supposed to be going through two tables. The first one fell over. and the second one broke.
Fatal.
So yeah, and this is interesting that we're doing this with the trios also, because we talked about, okay, well, maybe they're not, because we thought in the beginning, we thought, okay, they're going to do this as a trios match. They're going to, a 3-way match. Then it was like, then we got the announcement last week that we're doing the Young Bucks and the Acclaimed. And we're like, okay, so they're getting this match out of the way. They're going to do Young Bucks FTR 2. Well, not technically 2. It's their second one at Wembley. So they'll do that rematch. And then they'll do the trios match will be the 3-way. No. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. So we're for the trios title, we are doing the Patriarchy is defending their title versus House of Black, Bang Bang Game, and a mystery fourth team who will be determined this Wednesday in Cardiff.
That's right. Yeah,
we will determine this mysterious trios match. Maybe it's Motor City and Scorpio Sky. I don't know. Maybe they're going to find a third person to put with Motor City and we're going to make them a trios. Somebody said it was going to be, who did they say? They said it was GYV and, I can't remember what's Pac, I think is what it was, because Pac will be by himself. So GYV and Pac, which would be an incredible trios team. So, they're doing this mystery team, and then they're going to be in the London Ladders match for the trio style. Vinkin says ZSJ and 2 English guys. I could see them bringing in somebody from, I don't know if they do ZSJ.
No, but they could do Michael Oku or somebody like that.
Right, because Michael Oku is supposedly on the way in.
Oh, really?
That's the rumor, is he's close to being signed if he's not signed already.
He's one of Will's boys.
He is. He had the match with MJF. Where MJF tweeted the very inappropriate thing and then deleted it when he got called out on it, which he should have, because that was racist. What he said. And so Michael Oku, and there was already rumors that Michael Oku was going to be involved on the Cardiff AEW anyway.
Makes sense.
Maybe they do put him in the, I don't know. Maybe he's in the casino. I could see him being in the casino gauntlet match that they're doing at All In. Maybe that's where Michael makes his AEW. Well, not his debut, because I guess if they're doing Cardiff, but yeah, so that's a thing that's happening. So we get this announcement right before the tag team match. So we're like, okay, this is where we're doing it. We're going to have a clean winner. What was I thinking? Absolutely not. We are not having a clean winner. The match ends in there was a time limit. So we get to 5 minutes. And I was like, oh, we're going to go right to the end. And then I was like,
oh no.
Then I kind of was like, wait a minute. We're going to go right to the very last minute, or we're getting a time limit draw? And both teams are going. And I was right. Got a time limit draw. And Tony Schiavone announces on commentary, I've just been informed that the Young Bucks will defend their titles against FTR and the Acclaimed at All In. And so now we have the London Ladders match with 4 teams, and then the tag match with 3 teams. And it's the same 3 teams we focus on all the time. It's not Private Party, not Top Flight, not, well, he's back. I was going to say not Kings of the Black Throne, but Buddy is back now. So now they're back to a trios, but like not the Outrunners, not MXM Collection, not
the Infantry.
No, not the Infantry.
Definitely not that awesome team.
not even the Kingdom. We're just, this is what we're doing.
I'm glad I put Shenanigans on the title, because geez.
Yeah, that's why I was like, put tag team.
Thank goodness for edit buttons, is all I gotta say.
Yeah, right. So, and then Lady B makes the point that she also doesn't care about the Young Bucks. So this entire match is at All In is meant for me. And I do like the Young Bucks. I am a fan of the Young Bucks, but I don't like what they're doing right now.
But that's because they've put themselves in a position, and as Lady B talks about, she's newer to this stuff. So they've fallen far from where they should be for a new person. That's disappointing.
And some people, I don't know that I would agree. I could see I can see why people think this.
Sure.
I saw several people.
And they're setting
make
themselves
the
up as heels, and they've always.
Well, no, not even that. I saw some things this week saying, after watching the Bucks versus the Acclaim, that they feel like the Young Bucks are phoning it in, that they don't care, and that they don't want to wrestle. And that's how they feel. They were like, this used to be a tag team that I love to watch, even if I wasn't a fan of them.
Yeah.
I always knew I was going to get an incredible match. And I feel like they don't give a shit and they don't want to be here, which is a terrible thing for your
That's
EVPs. I don't necessarily feel that way. I saw the match I thought was on Wednesday. I thought was fine. I didn't feel like they were phoning it in.
No, they're all right.
But I can see where some people may think that, and so this is where your tag team division is. You can't attract a team like the Motor City Machine Guns. Lucha Brothers are probably on their way out. I had heard there was a rumor that Lucha Brothers were supposed to be in this match, but then because Penta wouldn't re-sign, they had to make the change. But I was like, the Acclaimed are not over in the way that they were a year ago. A lot of that is because Max Caster can't keep his mouth shut on the mic or on Twitter. And people want Anthony Bowens by himself. FTR, even for people who do like FTR, they're constantly in the picture for the tag team titles. It's the same thing.
It's becoming the Usos New Day, like the perpetual.
Yes.
Yes. And I love those matches until they become like the perpetual matches for the tag team division.
Right.
It's like you're always going to have it's going to be FTR versus somebody.
Right. And some people will make the argument that FTR have put over certain younger teams. Sure, they have to an extent, but I've seen FTR versus Young Bucks multiple times. I don't want that. I'm not an FTR fan.
I don't think it has the draw it had is the problem.
No, I think people don't.
There is a time when it ends for every single feud, for rivalries, for all of it. It's like we do. So hopefully we got a good conclusion and the thing ends, but sometimes things just fade. Like wrestling fans are, Brian said it, fickle. We are fickle.
Well, not even. Well, yeah, I mean, there's that too. And then I don't want to see this. Like I've seen this.
I know.
Seen it. And it's harder to see this again when your tag team. This is your tag team division. It revolves around these three teams. Sometimes it includes Private Party when they're healthy. Sometimes it includes Top Flight when they're healthy. But mostly it's these three teams. And it's just you go from this division at the beginning where that team was so stacked that you could put titles on anybody at any time and most people would be happy. And somebody tweeted the original parking lot Raw match in my timeline the other day. That is still one of my favorite AEW matches ever. And it's again, and I've said this a million times, I will never forgive them for not putting the titles on Best Friends at that time or just early in that. And they never put it on Proud and Powerful. And Proud and Powerful don't even like each other anymore.
Yeah.
One is no longer in the company. Chucky T is pretty much retired now. He's working as an agent backstage. He probably will never wrestle again. At this time, it appears he will never wrestle again. Trent is a heel. Trent just had surgery, so Trent is gone. They don't book Ortiz ever. So, like, I don't know. It is a sad state of tag team wrestling among so many promotions, and that makes me sad as someone who really, like, I was watching wrestling before then, but who really, really got into tag team wrestling, watching the Hardys and Edge and Christian and the Dudleys, and watching those series of matches for several years really, really made me love tag team wrestling. And I'm still a tag team wrestling fan. I really enjoy tag team wrestling. I love the feud with the Lucha Brothers and the Young Bucks, and I love that 7 series match that they did. I loved all of that. I love a lot, and I still love tag team wrestling. But
I
when
think
it comes,
pro wrestling's healthier when tag team wrestling's healthy. If you look at things like the Road Warriors and the Natural Disasters, and I mean those, and Rock and Roll Express, people talk about them to this day. People that are young, that are brand new to wrestling, it's
they
like
still wrestle in GCW sometimes.
Oh, I know, they're hilarious. Those guys will wrestle till the end of time. They're hilarious. They were on Talking Shop-A-Mania for all. I mean,
right? Yeah.
Just, I mean, they're fantastic, but people still love them. And the nostalgia for them is still there, and it's because when you have that, it helps the product. People love getting behind that stuff. Even this with like Sika and Alpha passing away within a short time of each other, but I've been seeing people talk about them as their tag team and what that meant to them. I'm like, guys, wrestling's better when tag team wrestling's good.
Yes,
it really. I mean, even Abdullah the Butcher and the Sheik were a tag team, and they would travel around a lot because people just loved to be, because it was something no one had ever seen outside of this territory, because they were
of course,
flash and blood, and oh my god, these people are crazy. Like, but tag team, they were tag team for a while. Like, I mean, but it's just too bad. It is. I don't
really
like it.
Unfortunate, and it doesn't help with the Elite storyline that didn't quite play out the way it was supposed to. I don't mind. Hill Bucks are the best Bucks. That is their bread and butter. When the Young Bucks are heels, they are at their best. But it has to be heels when they care.
Yeah,
and it feels like they don't care. And then if this is true, we talked about the Brian Alvarez report last week, and there was another report, I guess, again this week, saying that they are on limited dates through the end of the year. And so
Jared asked Dave about it in one of the ones I'm catching up on, and
if
Dave
they
said that he wasn't sure, but he had heard Brian talking about that. So, if that, Dave attributed that. That's like he said that is something that he know, and he's like, I don't not believe him. I am just saying that is not my source. That is his source.
Well, then you see, like, the Young Bucks tweeted and poked fun at it and was like, for one of our limited tag team dates, we'll be wrestling this Wednesday on Dynamite. So, like, they're poking fun at it too. But, like, if that story is true, then why do they have the tag titles? Why are they holding them hostage if they're not going to? If they're not going to wrestle? If they're,
and I mean, in their own words, they talked about not wanting to become what they're kind of potentially like dipping their toe in becoming, and that's not cool.
I mean, right. Yeah. And I don't want that for them. And I can see, like, and I get it. Like, we talk about this a lot. AEW in 2024 is not AEW from 2019 when AEW started. It is a completely different company. The vision seems to have changed a lot. That's businesses evolve and promotions evolve, things evolve, and you have to go
People
with
get older, they have kids, they have families.
There's all kinds of factors, and that's not to say, like, I still, like, I love AEW. I prefer I prefer it to most other things. I still, like,
I watch Wednesday live still. The one I have not given up watching. I may or may not get Rampage and Collision live, but I always sit down on Wednesday night. It is with very few exceptions that are extenuating, Wednesday at 8:00 for 2 hours is my deal.
Right.
And still, I mean, that's my wrestling. That's my weekly wrestling. That's why I'm overly critical of it to some degree. Guys, I want this company to last a long time and have a healthy for jobs and competition and wrestling and the things that I've gotten to experience.
And all companies hit lulls, they all hit, and I don't even want to say that they're in a lull. There's just certain, like, again,
they just need a new flavor. They need to roll out the pumpkin spice AEW. They need to just really mix it up. When Pizza Hut gets bored, they put hot dogs in the crust or something. I'm just thinking out loud. I mean,
but you're right. I mean,
sometimes the new Coke thing was a disaster, so don't look at that. But I mean, maybe tie-dye the whole thing. That's back in, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Tie-dye never goes out of style for me. Also, because I was like a counselor and I worked with kids. So
of course, yes.
anytime tie-dye day, even I was excited for tie-dye day. Like, it's the best day.
Yes. I haven't made tie-dye shirts in ages. Like, I loved doing them. They're so much fun.
It's so much fun. And it's, tangent, but highly recommend it. You and your family or friends, if you ever, like, it's still cheap. RIT is like so cheap, and it's still the same process that you did when you were a kid, and it's so much fun. And what you can do, the best thing to do is either go to the thrift store or go to the drugstore or whatever, and get the cheaper clothes that you.
Yes.
And I wore, what was fun for me when I wore all that stuff all throughout like the camp as a counselor. Right. So I made shirts that I was like tie-dyeing my camp shirts and stuff. It was really fun. But it really did. If you're someone that likes that kind of thing, it does not get old. It's just as fun as an adult as it was when you were a kid. So have a tie-dye party if you're bored. If you need something
AEW and ROH needs to have a tie-dye party.
It's so inexpensive at the end of the day, because it's like the dye itself, and then you can even take old clothes that you want to pep up. So tie-dye it, Tony. You got to tie. You need something new.
Here we go, Tony. Tie-dye it, Tony.
Clear. AEW clear. Oh no, wait, that didn't work. Never mind. Don't do that. Some of the good ones. I'm aging myself at the same time. But you guys all knew that anyway, so it's fine.
Yes.
I am wearing my best friend shirt today.
There you go. I went with a Hangman shirt because we talked about it. The conversation everybody had this week about Hangman and Jeff Jarrett, we had at the end of last week's episode. So I didn't even put it on here, but I went with the Hangman picture just because that's what everybody was talking about.
I think it's smart. And it reminds people that we are ahead of the curve.
I had conversations this week. I still want Hangman versus Okada at All In, and I'm going to be sad if it's Jeff Jarrett.
I agree with you.
That'd be probably what's going to happen. And the only person that I'm really going hard for is Emmy, because Emmy doesn't have a match, and I just put her on 0 hour and let me watch her wrestle, because just let her have her Wembley moment. That's all if you're making me sit through this tag team bullshit, at least let me watch Emmy get her moment. Let me have that. And then Lady B said, I'm hoping All In is a restart with a new TV deal and a new talent to living things up. I don't follow ratings, but I hope attendance goes up, since the crowd size / engagement can impact the vibe on your TV. Yes. And you know what? I've heard also what's kind of interesting with that is I've had friends go to the live shows recently. I had a friend at the Greenville show. And then the following week it was in Winston-Salem, and both of them, apparently it was louder in the arena than it was on the TV. And so I think
that their audio engineers still, or if they have any, still do not know what the F they're doing. Even yesterday, I was reading the thread from because we have in the Discord, we do live threads during. It was dying on Fight. It was dying on this. It was
apparently Fight had really bad problems. A friend, Josiah,
fell off TNT, so a bunch of people went to Fight, and then Fight fell off, and then like one of the services only had the show and the audio wasn't coming in at all.
Oh no. Yeah, and Josiah said he was watching live on Fight, and the main event restarted literally 14 times. I mean, not the main event, the opening match. He's like, he kept getting to the same Mercedes.
I was seeing a lot of the same.
And so, I don't know I'm like, you better get that fixed. You got a major pay-per-view next week. Better get on that.
Well, and you should be miking your freaking audience properly.
Yeah, and so that's why I asked that, because I asked them, and I was like, was it this dead during this? And they were like, no, it was super loud. And I asked because Mercedes and Winston-Salem kind of didn't seem like it connected. And he was like, yeah, they really popped for the CEO chant. Then they kind of died off a little bit. He was like, but that's kind of what they do here. And then they picked back up. So he was like, but he was like, sometimes the arena was really, really loud and it was not picking up on TV, which seems to keep being an issue with them. And then Jermaine made a comment that this is where TK needs to bite the bullet and go out to the Lucha Brothers and beg them to come back so they can add them to the match and put the titles on the Lucha Brothers with somebody new like MXM. Listen, I would not be mad at that.
Can't find a single thing to argue with.
The tag team division is better with the Lucha Brothers in it. They are
Agree.
incredible. They are one of my favorite tag teams. I love them so much. And I would prefer them to be in AEW. It's like that's the one thing about covering WWE is I'll be watching it, so I'll get to see them. But also, I'm afraid of what's going to happen to them when they get there.
Because we know the history.
Yes, I'm a little afraid about that. But as I would prefer for them, I would just like tag team wrestling to be healthy in all promotions. That's what I would really like.
Agree.
And so I don't know. I do. There's going to be a media call this week, and I'm like,
oh, yay. Sammy Sama.
I was like, what do I ask?
Stephanie Shipley to the rescue.
Gonna ask. I'm like, listen, I know this is an all-in call, but I need to back this up to ROH. Well, what are you doing? Why does Dustin Rhodes have two? Explain to me why Dustin Rhodes has 2 titles.
I just want Sam to ask. I know you wouldn't be asked back, and you can't do this, but the part of me in an alternate timeline, I just hear Sam going, "Seriously, Tony, what are we doing here?"
Can you just answer this very
like you could like frame the question just right to be like, "What are we doing here?"
Tony, I see that you have put the trios titles on Dustin Rhodes and the Von Erichs after you unified those titles just a few months ago. You ununified them to put them on the Von Erichs in Texas to get a pop. But then you turn around on your final night in Arlington, and then you put the tag team titles on Dustin Rhodes, who now has 2 titles. What are we doing here?
It sounds so. If you like, you could practice it, and I bet you could pull it off. The only thing I'd be worried about is like once you got to a point and you'd be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, your time's up for asking."
Well, the last time I asked
that was too long of a question.
Listen, people ask. Don't tell me I asked too long of a question when you give 5-hour answers for people that you don't want to. If you
5-hour non,
you just talk. So just talk to me. I know you're busy. I know you're busy with this pay-per-view, but please.
I'm glad he's too busy to be a politician.
Tony Khan, you are more than welcome to come be an honorary broad.
Hey, he's like, come on here and defend himself.
He's like, I do not want to be on live television with her, on a live program with her. I don't even want to be on the media call with her.
He's like, oh no, do we have to call on her? Yeah, she's kind of, the people are paying attention now. Sorry.
Well, he got mad at me last time.
Sweet. I love that stuff though, but you know how I feel about that.
I was like, I didn't even ask. No,
that's the best. Because that's him. He's calling himself out. He's showing his self.
Yeah, Matt. And it was an ROH question. I mean, it was an ROH media call. It was for Death Before Dishonor.
I enjoy you getting Tony to show his ass myself, but I am a sadist a bit. So when it comes to things like that.
So the offer is there, Tony Khan. If you would like to be an honorary bride.
Yeah, that was the worst invitation ever, but you're still welcome to come on anytime. We would be
we don't want to be.
We're not total jerks. Like we actually
if you don't want to be in a live format where people can ask you questions in real time, I also write for the Daily DDT. I write for Wrestling Inc. If you would like to do an interview just one-on-one without anybody chiming in.
Tony Khan, what are we doing here? By Sam.
My DMs are open.
You
can get in touch with Daily DDT. my editor is Rafael Garcia. Hit him up,
please.
And
that'd be so amazing. Wouldn't it be so amazing if it just happened?
If somebody from AEW's media is watching this,
yeah, all 2 of you.
Right. Tell Tony.
All 2 of you that don't put the Twitter promos on the right stuff. Anyway, all right, we could do this all night.
Okay, we could. So Laurent says, whose idea was it to make Dustin? That could be my question. Tony Khan, whose idea was it to make Dustin Rhodes a double champion in 2024? When the infantry was right there.
When the infantry was
Tony Khan, why do you hate the infantry?
That's actually hilarious just because of that's like so many layers. Why do you hate women? Why do you hate damage? He's gonna be like, why do you hate my media scrums, you jerk?
I don't hate them. I'm there to ask you real questions, sir.
I know. It's so cute.
LaRon said he's not talking to Daily DDT. Your editor is probably 1 week away from taking him to task over his treatment of Athena and now Red Velvet. That is true. Raphael and I do kind of double team him over there about.
I mean, it is kind of your job, and you guys aren't. I mean, if he's mad, he could fix the product. And then you wouldn't have anything to bitch about.
He's like, God, I finally fixed the women's division, and now Sam's mad about the tag team division. I can be mad at most.
See, women are unplayable.
I can be mad at multiple things, Tony, and I do love a lot of things about AEW. I prefer AEW. I love a lot of things about it. But some
we wouldn't be bothering you. This is the thing, though. If we didn't like your product, we wouldn't be bothering you.
Yeah, we didn't like.
We'd be bothering somebody else. Do you want us to go like somebody else's product and bother them? No, you don't.
Right.
You're not getting clicks. Every time we bother you, you get an algorithm bump. Okay? Jerk.
This man is chronically online. Listen.
Seriously.
And I don't say that's a bad thing because I'm on Twitter all the time. So I'm just as guilty.
You say it as a reflection of your own self and understanding.
Tony Khan and I are close in age. I think we're the same age.
I think you guys are actually.
I think he's like a month older than I am.
That's hilarious. And it's interesting to think about because of what he really, at large, he's a savvy dude. He's just, it's a lot. At some point we all need to it's okay, Tony. You've got he has a lot of you have hired a lot of good people. Rely on them. Hire them to do a job. Let them do a job.
And you know who could help do a job and not wrestle on TV is Jeff Jarrett. He was hired to do another job, and now he's probably getting it all in
the Detroit area that's super hopping right now. That's got a whole new. We've got all e-cars and stuff downtown that are just free and through the end of the year now. They have a whole tram system that runs all around it's all the e-buses, and they have an operator in there and everything. So if something goes wrong, there's a human being on board and everything. And they're all free till the end of the year, and it goes everywhere. It goes all around the loop. And the People Mover, which is classic Detroit, and just, but whatever, It's hard to see the peninsula with all the lakes around it.
That must be it.
The Midwest is like a big lake, and then all the stuff surrounding it.
Yeah.
There's not a giant mitten stuck right smack dab in the middle of it.
No,
it's
not at all.
It's called a peninsula. Isn't that weird? Michigan's actually a peninsula.
Just like Florida, where a lot of your wrestlers live.
Yeah, but we're not shaped like Florida's shaped, if you get my...
I do.
We're shaped like a mitten. It's awesome.
Very
mittens different. Are cute. Everyone loves mittens.
That's true. Jermaine says
Tony Khan.
Except for Tony Khan, yeah. He said, kind of have a feeling the long-term plan for the tag titles was to put them on Adam Copeland and Christian, but I think Adam Copeland's injury affected the plan. I think the original match for All In was the Young Bucks versus Copeland and Christian. I think that was the plan too. I think perhaps had things not gone the way that they did with the Hardys, they probably would have included them as well. I think that we also at some point would have, and I think after Adam Copeland and Christian won the titles, we would have gotten them against the Hardys. I think they would have revisited that because that is even at their age. So that is a money match.
Yeah, I would just have to watch that right now.
I want that match right now. I will take it. I don't care if it happens on an indie show at this point. Will, when Adam Copeland is healed, I will take it. I don't care. I don't. I will take it. And then Laurent says that Tony Khan needs to answer for the lack of women's matches lately on AEW program. He's still got a lot of work to do in that regard. He does. He does. Again, we've talked about, like, we will talk about the positive things with the women's division because it's a whole hell of a lot better than it's ever been. But they are still growing pains. There are still issues that have to be worked out, and
I did like
get caught on that too.
I mean, even like Lyric pointed out, like, they led with the women for a change, and it was like the first time, and
the women they led with the women last night too, and I don't.
Yeah, and I think that, and Laurent has been someone that's been advocating for that too, and I really do enjoy that. It's useful because it's I don't
know if that was also kind of to appease Britt a little bit, because Mercedes got to be the first woman ever in a match that opened on AEW Dynamite, so I don't know if that was also like, I don't want Britt to be mad at me, so let's give Britt.
I mean, I guess whatever it takes to get.
I don't care. Yeah, I was gonna say, whatever the reason was, I'm glad that it happened. And it would have been cool if Rampage could have opened with a women's match too, so that you see the women opening every match. That would have been really cool. But also what they did with the Outrunners, and the Outrunners were out there with Erica Lee, and Erica Lee was Nyla's opponent, so they kind of went right into that, which was really funny, and I thought it worked really well. So I do appreciate that for that, because Nyla's great. We love her here. And Jermaine says, for the love of Christ, can we get a women's casino match or a gauntlet match? Whoever wins gets the title shot at All Out. Any women's champion, just my plan, throwing it out there. I like that plan.
I do too.
You're speaking our language.
I never even thought yet. Why hasn't there been all that? God.
Yeah, somebody else asked that too. They were like, why we should do a women's casino match. Like, why are we not? That would be perfect. That would be perfect but that would also be actually perfect for All Out, because you can go with the All Out thing, like the casino theme. You could do that and then have a match that sets up for Wrestle Dream.
Yeah,
I guess. Yeah, because Wrestle Dream is next after, right? Yes, All Out, Wrestle Dream, Full Gear, World's End.
Wrestle Dynasty.
And then Wrestle Dynasty, yes. And then Revolution.
Right.
So yeah, you could do. Yeah, I would like to see that. I would love to see that. I would love to see a women's blood and guts match. More than anything.
Me, and Jeff Hawkins will keep banging that drum until the end of time.
You better put Emi Sakura in that damn match too.
And we'll bang. And I think the three of us will bang that drum also.
Yeah. Nikki said that. TK said that's too much work and he doesn't want to spend that much time on women. So it feels like
you'd have to talk to girls.
What it feels like sometimes.
Girls are gross. They have cooties.
Well, that's okay. But yeah, so I think that
their Sunday.
Yeah, I think that brings us to the end again.
We went extra long today because we're gonna have to go extra short next week.
Yeah, so next week we will be. You will get to see if it's been a long time since Mel and Sam have done a 2-hour show. We'll see if we can, but we have a hard out.
Can I get a countdown clock?
We should. We should get a countdown clock.
I might be able to download something. I'll see what happens.
We should have a countdown clock that reminds us, hey, quit talking about that.
And then all of our people in the end can like count down the like 9, 8, 7, 6, like they do on all the stupid wrestling shows.
And see, there we go. Because we actually probably need to get out of here a little before 1 o'clock so that people have time to like go pee and get their snacks ready before.
But then if we're gonna have a timer,
I need to go pee before.
Yeah, that's true. You're right. I'm gonna have to like set everything up beforehand and then.
Jeremy says he's gonna run it back for your G1 talk. Yeah, we did not mean to go right into G1 talk, but that's on me because I watched the main event right before the show started, and Mel watched it like 45 minutes beforehand, and we got excited. So also, Jeremy, are you guys doing anything live today, or are you just doing your normal show on Thursday? Because we were promoting the Thursday show, but then somebody in the chat
to unpack, and we need you.
Somebody in the chat said that you guys might be doing something live today, so we just wanted to make sure we're promoting. if you are. But regardless, we will be here next Sunday at 11 a.m., which is not our regular time, 11 a.m. Eastern. Our pre-show is running up against the AEW pre-show. Unfortunately, we do not have wrestlers having matches during our pre-show like they do. We don't have that type of budget. So we do not have wrestling matches for you. Okay. Jeremy says that no live until Thursday. They're going to do a Capital Collision post show. Oh, sweet.
Awesome.
Okay. Very cool.
Perfect.
So we'll make sure
tune
that
in on Thursday, guys, and that's you can
at
again
5:30
just
Eastern.
subscribe, and that's actually honestly, I'm kind of like it makes sense because there's a lot to unpack from that, from the not just the end of the tournament, but I think the whole tournament because that will be it.
Yes. So shit, that was yeah, definitely.
That finish blew my mind.
So good. And like Jeremy will hear, Wes, I will not recap all that. But I only got to see the match portion of the show, so I have to go back and rewatch the rest of G1, and so I'm going to rewatch the main week from Friday.
Okay.
Live show. So this Thursday normal show with Singing Strong Style, and then the following Friday they will be doing Capital Collision live or post show live. So make sure you check that out. Dynamite
and even
show
if
live.
you don't remember all of that, all the information you need is right there on your screen at Fight Game Media on Twitter, at Fight Game Media on YouTube. If you subscribe, if you follow, if you do all the things that defeat the algorithm, which we appreciate greatly, including listening to us talk about it, because that will tell you when things are happening. It will also help us get the word out for
you can turn
so we have
on
a lot of
bell
good
notification.
And I need to listen to them too because people need to break this down for me. I need you guys to unpack this, take this giant bag of snakes and lay them out straight for me.
Apparently a lot happened today that I missed that I'm gonna go see.
You'll get there.
Yes, I'll get there.
You'll have fun.
But yeah, so again, and we'll keep reminding you, obviously subscribing and hitting the notification will remind you that we will be here live
and
at 11 o'clock
you annoyingly
a.m.
Too.
But we're gonna post our social media all week long. We will be live 11 a.m. We're gonna try to get you out of here before 1 o'clock so that you can see. So we will be talking to people in the chat, but we may have to cut down some of the conversation so that we can stay on track. That does not mean that we don't want you in the chat. We do. We just may have to.
We just want to make sure everybody gets to enjoy the show because it is on a little early and it is a little unconventional.
And by then we'll have more 0 hour matches to go over as well, and we'll remind you of the stipulations, and
and there may be a post show that ultimately does happen, which
I'm sure
potentially
because it's
able to be had earlier in the day, might be able to go a little bit longer than our pre-show. So you know.
Yes, and Jeremy said that he will unfuck this shit.
Thank you.
For the
I need this a lot. There's a lot. You guys, I need you. I'm so glad.
All right. So I think that does it for us this week. Again, come back next Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern for a special start time. Come get hype with us for All In, and we'll see you next week.
Yes, we will.